Hey, we are live. Sorry about being a bit late. Our guest, John Cowie, who's been in the chat room, is still having problems. Some people get on really easily and some people just don't. Anyway, we're still trying to sort out getting him onto the Hangout. If he's listening, John Cowie, I've emailed you the link. Press the link in the email. Anyway, good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, the 10th of December, 2017. And so far on the panel, we have Patricia UK, Weedy the Doc from Scotland, and we have artists from Germany. Evening, everybody.
Evening.
Hello. Well, artist was dying to say some stuff, and I was hoping, obviously, with John here, we'll be talking to John. So, as I say, we're hopefully getting him on and talk to him afterwards. But artist, you had some things to say to Doc, because Doc's into free energy.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Doc knew about Stanley Meyer's water fuel cell, and that basically you could drive your car on water. So
Yes.
that is one question. And I also was wondering if he knew about that wind turbine car from 1975. So.
Yes, I know about the Stanley Myers water car. Yes, basically how it works. Also, the one powered vehicle. I've watched a few videos on it. Basically, the car drives and wind turns a turbine on top of the car. It charges the batteries. It's an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's all really doable.
Yeah, just one moment. Weedy, you're a bit low in the volume, so maybe you can get a little bit closer to the mic or
Okay.
turn it up a bit, because I can't hardly hear you. Just very soft.
Okay. I'll try. Is that any better?
Can I just say that I'm communicating with John now. I'm going to call him. We might have to do this on a phone call. Anyway, yeah. I think, do you remember, Alan, you just have to sit with your mouth over the piece because you've got an iPad, haven't you?
Yes, well, it's I've got a headphone with a microphone on it now, so.
Oh, this is better,
yeah. Is that better now?
Cool.
Yeah, that's better, much better.
Yes, I changed the settings on my microphone, so.
Okay.
Hopefully this is better.
Yeah.
Yes, we're talking about the Stanley Myers water-powered beach buggy. Yep, I know about that. I've studied it. I've researched it. Seems a viable idea. It's been proven to work. The electric car from 1975 with the wind turbine on the roof charges the batteries. It's another simple idea.
Yeah.
Would be quite easy to make work as well. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I can show you for the people who are wondering where it is. Sorry, I've cough sometimes because my throat is a bit sore. So
yeah,
it's just like that. You can see here. This is the pattern for the wind turbine driven generator to recharge batteries in electric vehicles. Here you can see the patent number, so you can look it up for yourself on this patent site. This is basically the United States Patent and Trademark Office, so that's handy to. You can type here the numbers, and then you can get to this document. And it talks here. You have some other pictures, and then you can see the inside, how it works. And this how it looks on a car. Of course, this was in 1975, so you can make it a little bit more efficient and maybe a little bit lower. And it's very interesting that already in 1975 they had a device made to recharge your car by wind. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just to show you another one, is that some people get the understanding a bit, is that patent from Stanley Meyer. So takes sometimes a little while to upload. This is the patent from Stanley Meyer, so everybody can see the patent number. It's always handy to actually see the real thing. Here, this is Stanley Meyer, where he lived. He was supposedly killed in a restaurant. They gave him some poisoned food. That's the story they tell. And then he died in an instant shortly after that. But the patent is now public domain for everybody to use. So if you have a lot of free time, never know who listens. Maybe an engineer listens to this. He basically patent tells how you can build this. It's very detailed. Yeah, a lot of pages. 13 pages over here, actually explaining how you can build this car. I will slowly go through them so people always can stop the screen and check it. Now, this is basically all text. It's a little bit boring. But this is the patent. This is the patent number, so you can research it for yourself. Not very hard to find this one. Just an information. But go ahead further, Weedy.
Yeah, that's good. Yes, I watched quite a few videos on Stanley Meyer's. I've done a lot of research into his work as well. There are also other ways to convert engines to run on different methods, like fuel vapors was another one.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the vehicle doesn't run on the actual petrol or fuel, it's actually the vapor it runs on. I worked on a patent back in 1985 on that, a vapor engine. So
Mm-hmm.
that does work well. Basically what you do is you heat the vapor, you take the vapors, you heat them, feed them into the airflow in that engine.
Yep.
And the engine basically runs. The timing's got to be adjusted. But it's very doable. You can get hundreds and hundreds of miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of videos on YouTube doing similar things, but what they do is they build the modifications onto lawnmowers, of all things. So
yeah,
it's all good.
It's interesting because as far as I know, I saw some video, maybe I'm wrong, that was Stanley Meyer made the device so small that you don't have to rebuild your motor of your car. You can leave your motor of your car basically intact, and you had only narrowed it down to a device as big as a carton of milk.
All right.
And then you could, I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw a video that he basically was holding a carton of milk, a device of the size of a carton of milk, and that you could click that in your car.
Yeah.
And just change some wires around, and then it was basically finished.
Okay, I haven't seen that. I've seen the videos on the fuel injection systems. Basically, it's a fuel injection system that cracks the water and removes the hydrogen molecules.
Yeah, that's the video I also saw. It was very interesting.
Yeah,
because he showed it in a very detailed, and also you have a patent, and then you can figure out how it works. Yeah,
that's right. There was somebody on YouTube that actually tried it. I think it was RWG Data, if I remember right. He actually tried to build the fuel injection system. I'm not sure how far he got with it.
Oh, that would be interesting to see how far he actually got with it.
Mm-hmm. The video I saw on the car with the one turbine in the roof, well, it was actually an old Volkswagen camper van they'd converted along the same lines, so I presume it's the same patent.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I think also it's the same.
Yeah.
That's very interesting that you can. That the electric energy is so old, and it is basically started in the 1900s already. That they had electric cars, And as far as I know, about 40% of the people in America were driving an electric car.
That's right. I
Probably
didn't know
half.
that until you'd mentioned it a few months ago. So
It
we're
was
going
in a
full circle.
video. It was in a video. I said enough. I can't post it because otherwise I tried to post that video, but you get the strike instantly, and it's blocked worldwide. So that's the problem. But it was in the video of when General Motors had an electric car in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah, there was a video about it, and they basically made the electric car fail on purpose, and all the electric cars were because it was gaining momentum. A lot of celebrities were driving that electric car, and it worked very good. It's called the AV or something, Avion or something.
Oh yes.
That was in a documentary about that electric car, and it was basically on purpose dropped because they had to choose between the Hummer and the AV or IV car, and they chose the Hummer because the cells of the Hummer were going up, and the cell of that electric car, they said, was not going up. But basically what they also tell in the documentary, it was all fabricated lies. So they tried to get rid of, they tried to make sure that electric cars fail on purpose.
Yes, that sounds about right. We've actually come full circle. We had electric cars, and now we're going back to them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. That I don't know exactly how that video is called again. It's a documentary of the electric car. It's you can still see it on in parts on YouTube. Yeah. I think it's called how the electric car died or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can quickly search it. Also, people are making electric cars themselves. There was a guy in America who made an electric car himself, and there was a guy in, I believe, China who made even an electric car with a wind turbine in front and in the back. Yeah, that documentary is called "Who Killed the Electric Car?"
Yeah,
that's how the documentary is called, and it was on YouTube and maybe other.
Yeah, I'll try searching for it.
Yeah, it's also on Daily Motion, I believe, in parts.
Yeah.
But you can't post it on YouTube because somebody posted bits and pieces of it, but most of the time it gets removed in a couple of hours.
Yes.
Very fast.
That's right. It's the same if you start posting about AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
You get a strike straight away. I've had that experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They will probably have a special forces watching the internet to get rid of that information as quick as possible.
Well, that's right, definitely.
Wouldn't surprise me if that was actually the case. I have a video on my own channel that is maybe interesting, and maybe I can pop it up real quick to show you how it is.
Okay.
If it works or not, or sometimes the videos playing doesn't work. Can you see my screen?
Yes, see your screen, yes.
Okay, this is also a practice. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce and distribute or exhibit portions or copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or videos. This under certain circumstances, without authorizing of the copyrighted holder. This infringement of copyright is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news, reporting, teaching, and parody. Now, People are making electric cars themselves. Here, this is in the news. Mark King, age 19, built his own electric car. 2 cents a mile to operate this vehicle. And he wants to be green. He had to decide to build a green car. So he built one of him for himself.
Oh, that's good.
To get to school and everything. Here, this is Mark King, the inventor. He's 19 years old. And I think that car only costs about $500 to make. Maybe around between $500 and $100 and $1,000. Then you can make this car for yourself.
Talk.
And he also patented it. Yeah, sorry.
Got John Cowie on the telephone. We're just having problems getting him onto the Hangouts.
Yeah.
A bit of time has already passed, but he's here right now.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go. So, Mr. John Cowie, hello. So sorry about...
Sorry about all this confusion. I'm still trying to sort of, as we're talking, still trying to resolve the problem, but so we've lost that half an hour.
That's okay. Actually, it's nearly an hour now. Never mind.
Oh my goodness me!
If I just explain, obviously, John's been listening to a bit of the chat in the background while he's been trying to get on the Hangout. But obviously, on the Hangout with us, we have artists from Germany, Patricia from the UK, and then Alan is into free energy. He's from Scotland, and then there's me. So that's who you're talking to today.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, who's that?
That's all the people that I just told you about. Artists from Germany.
Yeah. I'm artist. Hello.
Yeah. I'm really honoured to talk to you. Came across you months ago and have watched your presentation a few times. But then every now and again I go back, because obviously we're a group, we're researching and we have different people on Hangouts every night. But then comes this bit where I go, no, and I have to go back to the pyramids, because you'll understand. I lived in Hungerford. John knows where these places are, by the way, guys, if anybody's not familiar to here or in the UK. And Avebury really attracted me. And I used to go and sit on Silbury Hill sometimes on solstice time. And then I heard about the excavation and I heard about something. But then, of course, my life, whatever, divorce, whatever, moving, all that happens. And then you sort of forget about it. But I was amazed then to come across you, who is someone that's understood, because obviously the British heritage just think it's a nicely built mound. And then when you start looking into it, there's acoustic things. There's just a myriad of things. It's a battery. How did you realise this then?
Well, I worked for a company called Intel, and I used to live in Marlborough. I used to travel past the Silbury Hill and the Standing Stones at Avebury, and I was always amazed at how clever human beings were. Humanity is, in terms of converting silicon or sand into microprocessors and giving us all this technology, which sadly hasn't worked for me this evening, but there you go. So I just started to realise that maybe there's something more to these structures, particularly Silbury Hill, than the establishment that tells you about. So the establishment, as you know, Grant, you just said it a moment ago, had told us that Silbury Hill is basically a pile of chalk about 4,500 years ago. If you go into Wikipedia, it tells you it's the largest man-made mound in Europe. But I was a bit suspicious about this, but luckily I got involved in the English Heritage Restoration and Conservation Project in 2007. And it's quite clear for me that there's a lot more to Silbury Hill than being a pile of chalk. And is everyone still there?
We're listening to you. Just explain, because obviously I've only found one, but you did a presentation about this. I've actually put it on the channel, but just explain what that presentation was about, because obviously you had a man standing with a pyramid, and the pyramid was moving a bit from his energy, from his heat and stuff from him. You were explaining frequencies and other things like that with this pyramid.
Yeah, what basically, once I got into the Silbury Hill mound, I realised that there'd been a sarsen stone cap on the top, there'd been chambers inside, and there'd been a mica sheet across the base, and there'd been water flowing underneath. And I've studied pyramids around the world since this time, this is the end of like 1995, 1997, 98. And I've researched pyramids, and I've met Russian scientists who have used all sorts of sophisticated equipment, measuring energies coming out of the main pyramids in Egypt. I'll touch on that in a moment. But what I basically said in the presentation, which is really quite significant, is that Silbury Hill is more likely to have been built as a very early pyramid, probably around about 12,000 years ago. And when I, again, go through all my research and so on, I'm finding that discoveries are being made of pyramids on every continent on Earth, in fact, some beneath the oceans as well. And the indication of what we're having is that where Silbury Hill and Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids have been dated by the establishment 4,500 years ago.
Yeah, they pick that magic number, don't they? It's always 4,500 years.
It is, and funnily enough, when I again got into the detail of that, this figure comes from basically aristocratic archaeologists of the sort of late 18th, early 19th century, who basically came to the conclusions, because they were obviously fairly influenced by the church at that time, and so any kind of speculation or theories they have, which miraculously became fact. So if you talk to English heritage archaeologists, they'll tell you that Stonehenge is 4,500 years ago, and as you correctly say, Karen, they'll tell you all these other monuments are the same date.
Hey, as you're there, can I just say that Artist did a presentation. Artist is the German man on the panel, and basically found pictures where Stonehenge, they're just bits of concrete, and they've put stuff on the outside of it. You know, like they're not real stones.
Well, it's interesting because they are real stones, but maybe where there's some confusion that they were rearranged around about 1910. And some of them, because they didn't fit in where they wanted.
No, he's come across pictures that they're just concrete columns with an outer cover.
No, I didn't say that the stones weren't real. Only the stones were probably exported to another location, and then they were rearranged in a different setting. Not an original setting, and was set in concrete bases. But the stones could be real and from a real site and moved to another location. That's what all the things in the article say, and also old photographs say. It appears to be moved to another location, and you can see that they are setting it in concrete. But the stones could be real.
Well, the stones at Stonehenge are real, and the beliefs have been imported again back to when you start looking at some of this isotope dating. They are kind of one of the first just broken up, as it were. They came from the Blue Mountains in Wales about 12,000 years ago. So it's very difficult because some of the stones have, you're quite right, some of the stones have been damaged and broken. So it is a concern because as I said before, some of the people involved, the sort of establishment archaeologists of the past, do try to adjust these things to suit or to fit their basic theories. So some things may have been moved. I mean, for example, yesterday I did a live stream on YouTube regarding the conflict at Stonehenge, where they're planning to build a road there, so that they are planning to potentially damage that site. Because really, you know, the people who make these decisions are often trying to cover things up a little bit.
Yeah, I know what they're going to do. I've noticed, right, because again, there's a gentleman called Chris Monk who's done a lot of research on our group about electrical arcings, and now Artist has been carrying it on in the last few weeks. He's carried on with these electrical arcings, and they're round circles, and it just seems that Stonehenge is one, Avebury's one. There's one at Windmill Hill, and I think there's one actually around Silbury Hill. I think that is one there as well. And then of course you've got Silbury Hill, and then you've got Merlin's mound. I only found that the other day. I can't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, there are quite a few mounds around. Even some of the local historians who are, some of them actually passed away now, but they had facts and information showing quite a few mounds similar to Silbury Hill around the area, even just back at the beginning of the turn of the century.
And they've been destroyed.
Yeah, they've been moved, been destroyed by farmers, really, or just destroyed. I mean, this is the problem. That there seem to be somehow that they're trying to cover up, or trying to hide things. So that's why the establishment keeps telling us the wrong dates for Stonehenge or the pyramids, or the wrong purpose. Means the Great Pyramids were built for tombs for pharaohs. If you go inside the Great Pyramid, it's a massively complicated structure. Nothing to do with a tomb. It's more to do with creating life than actual death or after death situations, as the establishment will tell you. And when you we've
been doing research like this. They were all buried. The pharaohs were buried somewhere else.
They weren't used. I mean, they were definitely used as burial chambers, but the original reason, for example, an interesting piece of information I found a few months back was that when they retranslated some of the Sumerian texts, they found that the ark may have been mistranslated, not meaning a boat back in the Noah situation, but actually it was a pointed structure. So basically, Noah stored information, not animals on a boat, but stored information in probably all of the Great Pyramids. This is why we have all those chambers and special kind of conditions in these particular structures. But the important thing I can't to mention to you and your Ithacus team is that when in water, atoms very easily sort of disintegrate, if you like, losing or gaining electrons into cations or anions. So they basically turn into atoms very easily can become ions, and a cation easily attracted to the sun, and any anions attracted to the earth. So you have this flow of ionic energy that is a normal thing that people call it earth energy. Now, if you put a pyramid shape on top of it, it's incredible what happens. It generates this energy into electrical energy and stores it inside the pyramid. And when a hole appeared in Silbury Hill in 2000, and some crop circle enthusiasts descended into it, and I have actually a DVD sitting in front of me, where they filmed a cavity inside it, but also found that the energies inside the hill destroyed the mobile phone and destroyed cameras that they were carrying into the mound. And there's also a huge ball of light, basically, again, another form of energy that was emitted from the pyramid Silbury Hill when they went into it. So basically, Silbury Hill was a pyramid which was generating electrical energy, which, because of things like sarsen stone at cap at the top, etc., was able to this is called a transducer, was able to convert this energy into other forms of energy, such as magnetic energy, bionic atmosphere, so they could produce maybe a magnetic field around the pyramid and have an atmosphere within that magnetic field that would help the growth of plants to grow much quicker. But the other intriguing thing I was touching on about the Russian scientists were that the pyramid is also emitting a frequency, a unique seismic signal coming out of each pyramid. So what I'm trying to say is that we're talking about a civilization on our planet 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 years ago that had immense knowledge of quantum physics, mathematics, and also astronomy.
Yeah, which we don't have today. We just have
a lot of it we don't have today. You know, we've lost a lot of information, but it's interesting. And just you mentioned a good point there. If you look back, human race has always been clever. We haven't evolved cleverness or intelligence as in a Darwinian way. If you look back to Leonardo da Vinci or look even further back, there have always been very clever people. And in my experience working for companies like Intel, you're finding that there's often found through autistic people, they tend to often call them geniuses or whatever. Each generation produces a number of geniuses, and they're able to access our unconscious memory. And in our unconscious memory, I believe, we're carrying knowledge going way back to this time of this ancient civilization, pre-Egyptian, way back into our prehistory. the only logical, now you've got to be totally open-minded on this.
Do you mean that they could transport themselves, but not their bodies, but they could still look, it was sort of, yeah, a bit like having Dorothy's ball, you know, and the witch is looking in the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if this is where it becomes sort of, it's a bit like if you go into your early religion where you talk about creationism, the earth built in 6 days and so on. There's a lot of blind faith involved in that sort of faith, if you like. Now, if I say, well, asking for a similar consideration when you look to the fact that maybe back in the 11, 12,000, 15,000 years ago, the civilization on the planet that started it, the thing that started the civilization on this planet was basically extraterrestrial. And it's the only thing I could find to explain what's happening to us over, you know, why we're so much cleverer than our than our nearest relative, and why we've always been clever, and why we're all of us are very, very clever. And I think each generation is kind of is downloading some of this knowledge, which we've all got in our unconscious, well, not all of us, because we've all got different parts of it as we've evolved through our parents, grandparents, great-great-grandparents. You're talking about probably 500 generations have passed between now and the time when this ancient civilization was actually on Earth. Now, you're saying, yeah, so
yeah. So it's a bit like passing on DNA. So you pass also a bit of knowledge on to the next generation.
Yes, it's a sort of just I think what I was going to say there. Just basically, yes, I was going to say. You think, well, what happened to this ancient civilization, this ET-led civilization that built hundreds of pyramids all over the world? You think, well, what happened? Well, there's this massive flood back in 10,500 years ago. That basically is well recorded, and it's often known as Noah's flood. We heard about it in the Bible and so on. And it's been recorded in every other religion, and that basically destroyed the civilization. So when you look at the Egyptian civilization, you think, oh, they're very clever, very smart. But if you look very closely at it, it's a civilization in decline. It's been in decline because they lost basically the leaders, the knowledge, etc. What the ancient civilization did leave behind was their knowledge, which we've actually all got stored in our unconscious memory. It's a bit like your operating system, your computer operating system. Nobody except
it's great that
Microsoft.
It's great that you mention it. Indeed, the Egyptian civilization was a civilization in decline, and it was even the same with the Incas. It was even the same with the Mayans. You can see that the oldest buildings of the Incas are the most advanced, and probably not even Inca because they were from a civilization before them. And you can see that the older structures are the most advancedly built. Even in Egypt, the Osirian temple, you can put the credit card between the stones, and they're built in the same type of fashion as way in Inca. And there's in the Inca structures in South America. So you can see in Peru and Bolivia, they have the same type of skill as there is in Egypt. The same type of fashion they built. Also stones going around the corner, very, very put together very tightly. Yeah, it's it's evidence.
It looks like there's been a common template for building things back, say, 10, 12,000 years ago. So why was that? How could that happen on planet Earth? And that's where you start to think what's your conclusion, really? Yeah.
You know the bit about lying. I didn't actually discuss this with you. I didn't really want to do it right now, but do excuse me. We are a research group, and many people come on, and you know, obviously we've got Weedy the Doc, we've got artists on here.
Yes.
But the lies are much more than that. They've lied about where we live. They've lied about what we live on. History's a lie. Everything's a lie. Everything is back to front.
Well, do you know why that is?
Go on, then tell us.
Well, no, I think when the civilization was destroyed, we hear names like Noah. There's other people that were around at the time, and I think that there was a group that kind of looked after this ancient knowledge, this ancient information. I call them elites, and they've gone through history, if you like, manipulating others, which we call the establishment. So you've got politicians, you've got plenty of kind of rich people, monarchs, aristocracy, and so on. But they're not the elites. They're basically the establishment that are manipulated by the elites. Now, the elites manipulate these people, and we've come into this now. We're going to see this now through what we call Project Fear, Project Greed, Project Power. And they use these things to manipulate the establishment, and in turn they do the same to us.
Yeah, because people don't realise we're in some sort of communism already.
Well, the thing you've got to realise is that we're all being manipulated. But I believe we're moving into a period where we're all, which I call realizationism, where we begin to realise that we're being manipulated, and we begin to realise that just even simple things, you see this with our monarchy. I mean, our monarchy is really poor. I mean, poor for quite some time. In fact, it's basically, I won't go back into that detail, but you find that they keep bringing up they bring up a royal wedding or a royal funeral or different things, and it's very quick, very easy to get people thinking again about the royal family and how wonderful they are and so on, because that's all been kind of pre-programmed, and you kind of get it being manipulated. It's the same with, I could say to you, well, I want you to, if I was an elite or establishment, I want you to love the French because we want to trade with them and all the rest of it. I want you to love the French. I could easily manipulate you to say, well, I don't want you to love the French. So it's very easy how to do that. Another thing that they use, which is very important, is they would give people labels. So back in the day, I would maybe label me as a crank. So straight away, people would say, "Oh, John Cowie, don't listen to him because he's a crank." But of course, I proved myself over the last number of years, so it's a little bit better. If I was to get a bit more of a higher profile, I'm sure they'd find a way of discrediting me.
Yeah. Can I just say that I don't mean to cut you short there, but
no, please do, because I'm talking too much, and I do need to let you guys have a go.
I've asked you to come on.
Please shut me up.
I've asked you to come on. I asked you to come on, and I'm really pleased that you're here. But we agree with you. We've done a lot of research ourselves like this.
Sure, you have.
Artist has been amazing for that, and like I say, Alan's on the free energy. Alan, just explain to John what you discovered with your scalar waves.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Well, we discovered the Earth's heartbeat. For Earth's heartbeat. The Earth. Yeah. We've actually I've got it recorded on my YouTube channel. Karen's heard it.
I've heard it.
Quite a number of years.
Also, what did your scalar waves find, Alan?
Well, the scalar waves, I done research since 1985 using scalar mapping, using scalar waves and bouncing it off parts of things that would bounce off of, and we found the firmament to be real. The process we used, we emitted scalar waves in different frequencies and carrier frequencies, and basically with reflection, the way the scalar waves are reflected back to Earth, proved they were being bounced off something in the shape of a dome. So
right.
The scalar waves can be also received anywhere in the world, so they're coming back.
Yeah.
From the reflection from the dome back to a focal point and a focal cone to the point they're transmitted from.
Just to explain that, Doc worked for an electricity company, so they know that they also know we're flat.
Yes. This is the problem. A lot of people know a lot of things, but they can't. I mean, as I was saying, just very briefly touching on Silbury Hill, the English heritage archaeologists, they all know it's not a mound of chalk. They know there's a lot more to it, but they won't admit to it. And you'll have the same problem with guys you're talking to. They'll probably know a lot more than they let on, really, and it's quite difficult. But I think they will start to, as we move forward. I do think people are becoming a lot more open.
Pyramids would work if we were on a ball for a start. And I found a picture where a lot of all the pyramids link back to Silbury Hill.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And maybe a couple more. And then when I heard you, like, obviously I'd heard it before, but when I revisited it, what hit me was that the lady says at the beginning that maybe this is one of the first pyramids, and you think, oh my goodness, it's even bigger than that. Like, it's even bigger if the UK has the early pyramids. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
No, yeah. No, I think it's well. I mean, actually, Silbury Hill and Avebury and Stonehenge, they're just parts of a which had been a huge, what I call Wessex complex. I mean, there's a big complex at Giza and all the pyramids there, but I think the complex here was as big, if not bigger. And you correctly said, you're right. I mean, we've got to be careful, because I criticize the so-called experts and the establishment archaeologists for converting speculation into fact. And I keep saying all the time, what I'm saying is speculation. It's we will find out. I think we will find out in the future, because I do believe that the latest technology, like ground penetrating radar equipment, connected to satellites, will start to go much deeper beneath the ground and find a lot. I mean, I think there's massive pyramids still sat around in Egypt, and there's all sorts of things sat around here in.
We know somebody in Mexico, right? And on the private land, there are pyramids which are not registered.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I get people every other switch now. But
so what was the long barrows then? Because again,
sorry?
What was the long barrows then? For people who are listening in who maybe don't understand this, Silbury Hill was this mound, but it isn't. It's a pyramid, and right next to it is a stone circle, and it's in Avebury. And then you've got this other thing which has one of these arcing circles on it at Windmill Hill, which is a couple of miles away. And then a couple of miles the other way, you've got this thing called the Long Barrows, which they've said that it's a burial chamber, but it's not. It doesn't look like one, does it? And then, like I said the other day, I didn't even know myself that there's a smaller pyramid right in the middle of the next town on from Silbury Hill, Marlborough, about 10 miles away, right in the middle of this place, and they've built round this one.
Yeah. The thing, if you talk to Maria Wheatley, who's you probably heard of her, she's an expert on energies and so on, and she will tell you that these places are all sites of positive energies. So they create positive energy. That's why you're building churches, and the pyramids are built on these positive energy points, as is Silbury Hill, and as is Merlin's Mound. And guess what? And it's right in the middle of Merlin's Mound. Merlin is right in the middle of Marlborough College. So basically, the energies that's being generated there are creating this positive energy, which obviously is positive to helping learning and so on. And that's another interesting fact that's just worth mentioning. That if you look at any of these really key points, they've been actually quite important civilizations. I mean, Salisbury Cathedral is built on, again, this ley line that runs. Now, I think maybe Alan was touching on this, his area. You've got these ley lines, or almost ancient Wi-Fi, that runs around in different.
These electrical arcings, right? Artists noticed that which one, I can't remember if it's the positive or the negative one, but the trees grow massively at one of them.
Well, most of the sites, what is interesting with that electrical arcings, you can see them from Google Earth very clear. The mountains in that area that are pushed up are often rich of certain metals. You can also see that because they excavate it, sometimes even minerals, because they are often fluoride mines or other mines for minerals. If you look at Devil's Tower very close, you can see that the minerals are in the stone of Devil's Tower. And what is also interesting, and then just one question I want to ask you: did they ever walked with a compass over those Silbury Hill sites and near the sites near there? Because what Brian Forrester, maybe you know him, Brian Forrester, who does a lot of research in Egypt, in Peru, in Bolivia, and all other ancient sites. He went to Pumapunku, that ancient site, and he put a compass over those stones, and you can actually see the compass turn 90 degrees angles, or sometimes 45. And I was wondering if that was the same, or if it ever was did on Salisbury Hill and those other hills and mounts in pyramids. Of course, they are pyramids on those sites, that they also did those compass readings, if they get certain angles on the compass.
Well, I think just those lines, if you go to the standing stones at Avebury, and if you take a compass and move it up the stone, the compass changes direction. As you move up, different points will change direction, and you've got another few more inches, it'll change direction again. So you've got within a stone, a compass will change its direction a few times as it moves up the stone.
And it's the same in Peru. You could see the stone, and you slide it over, and it changes the direction a couple of times, indeed. Yeah. So that's even also on those monolithic structures the same. Because I'm going to the Netherlands in a while, and actually show it on a video, because then you have proof that it actually happens in that fashion. But I was also wondering if there are any videos about it on those sites.
Well, I can give you a name. There's somebody called, as I mentioned, actually touched on a name, called Maria Wheatley, W-H-E-A-T-L-E-Y, Maria Wheatley, W-H-E-A-T-L-E-Y. If you look up her name on her website, she's got all this information that you're looking for.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, man.
She's really good. She's brilliant. She's she's into all these energies, positive energies. There's a lot of research, and she'll be very helpful. If you just go and Google her, and you get into her information.
Okay, thanks for the information, because I'm looking for that kind of information to actually make a video with all kinds of compass readings on ancient sites and have proof to show that the compass reacts to it.
Yeah, I think she's actually got a video showing that.
Okay, that's awesome.
Questions come in the chat room. Brandon wanted to know if you're aware of the hidden Scottish pyramid.
Well, before I answer that, the quick answer is no. But the other thing is, Scotland's an interesting place in terms of, I mean, Aberdeenshire, for example, have got like 99 stone circles in Aberdeenshire. And if you go up, and we know about the more famous standing stones going further up. But if you're still there, I'd be interested to know where the pyramid is in Scotland. Hello?
Hello. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just thinking that Weedy the Doc lives in Glasgow. You reckon there's one there, don't you, Weedy Doc?
Oh yeah, you got a Scottish gentleman there. You maybe know, yeah.
Alan, you're muted, Alan.
Hello.
That's it. Hello. You showed me some pictures, didn't you, where you reckon that these could be pyramids that you were looking at?
Yes, that was up north in a small village called Portsoy.
Yes, I know the place, yeah.
Yep, right down.
I don't know about I know they found some ancient stone circles up there at near Aberdeen. I can't remember exactly. But I know, again, I know there's pyramids in Bristol, Inverurie. There's a churchyard, again, a church with positive energy. There's a churchyard in Inverurie where there's about three like Silbury Hill type mounds there, which I believe are pyramids. But I haven't. So I know about pyramid mounds, but I'm not sure if there's anything that's more of a pyramid shape as you see in Egypt.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely one down by.
Sorry,
I was just wondering if Duncan had any more information on that. What you were saying about the photographs he had.
Well, Alan's got a few photographs.
Oh, sorry, Alan, beg your pardon, sorry.
Yeah, he's called Weedy the Doc as well. But Alan's his name. But Alan's taken some pictures.
I'll be polite.
Alan's okay. Yeah, he took some pictures and he was showing me months ago, because what it was is we've also had this talk about what the pyramids could be, about this. Alan has this feeling that they could sort of transport themselves, even if they don't transport their bodies. And the only thing where I could put it was like the Dorothy ball, which is why I mentioned it, from the Wizard of Oz. Because we've had these talks ourselves. I mean, this amethyst and quartz crystal, and this is what Alan was using in his free energy, but it became apparent that really, he needed a laboratory, not his house, to do that in. Because those crystals.
That whole area of crystals and so on is so important. But again, it's an area out with my expertise. But I know a lot of people who got a lot of really good information on this, and I believe that crystals have been found, seemingly in Silbury Hill, but I don't know that for a fact. But I have heard people mention that there were discovered. Crystals had been discovered inside Silbury Hill, but don't quote me on that. I don't know.
Yeah, but we won't know, will we?
No. It's. I think the thing is, we have to accept that there's just so much stuff we well, there'd be no forensic science for a start. When they told me again that Silbury Hill, reiterate, Silbury Hill was 4,500 years ago because they found some ants which they dated 4,500 years ago. They were just taken straight out of the hill. There was no clean room facility. There was nowhere they were put carefully to avoid any atmospheric contamination. They were just taken out and put under a microscope, and somebody said, "Oh, surprise, surprise!" The 4,500 years ago. Now I found picked up some mollusks, some shells, snail shells when I was there, and I sent them off to University of Mexico, and they dated those to 12,000 years old. The English heritage paleontologist told me that, oh no, the shells, that wasn't.
So the one thing I noticed was that they get to a certain age, and then they'll just say 4,500 years. They don't go beyond that. It's always 4.5, no matter how old it is. But then you see, on our journey through all this, they've lied so much about our history. We weren't even sure if we were that old. We don't know if we're that old.
Well, see, the thing about the saying 4,500 years ago, that's what we call it the Neolithic period. That's when we're supposed to move from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age. Now, I remember there was a guy, I've got his name now, but it doesn't really matter, but he was a professor, basically doesn't really matter, but he was a professor who basically said that, well, he gave his talk about Stonehenge, and I basically at the end asked the question, I said, well, there doesn't seem any sign of enough people around, burial sites around this area to show that the number of people were there to build these amazing structures 4,500 years ago. And of course, I was in a sort of pro-establishment audience, so I could feel the hostility behind me, so I thought I better shut up and sat down. And but anyway, a few weeks later, there was an article in the Telegraph where he said that this was the first kind of place where people came together, this is 4,500 years ago, from all over UK, including the Highlands of Scotland, to build, for once a year, to come down and build this complex. Now, it's the most ridiculous thing you can think, because you can imagine, Alan will know, all the clan warfare up in the clans, all the way up and down from Scotland and all the way down. You couldn't probably get out of your own area without running into some kind of problem, and there was no, those languages were all different languages, there's no routes through down from
the way the artist has looked at the way he's researched, because maybe we didn't see it then, but we see it now. It looks like there was the pyramids, and then they were mended, and then they were mended again, and this is what's happened in a lot of the structures. So actually, it looks like there's 3 resets here.
Yeah, what I see in Peru, because Peru is and Bolivia is basically the field that I know the most about. You can see actually the 3 distinguished different kind of building shapes. You have those big stones. They appear to have to be almost that they sliced some pieces off, and the top is always missing. And they are a little bit granite type stones, a little bit bluish, but the hardness of granite. And you can see they always look like the shape of a sofa most of the time. Or and you can always see that the top is blown off, or there are large pieces missing, even though there's a very hard material. Then around that you have the monolithic big stones that are predating the Inca civilization, that are sometimes over 100 tons in weight. And then you can see repairs by the Inca civilization, and sometimes even on the old Inca building you can see a Spanish colonial church. So almost 4 types of, but the Spanish colonial church you can recognize, of course. But they are about 4 or 5 churches built on ancient sites, and also in other parts of the world. But I know 5 in Peru and Bolivia. You can see these 3 distinguished, but it's also with the Osiris temple. And you have another temple that looks a lot like the Osiris temple. The name escapes me at the moment. But you can see also. They are also.
To explain though that if these electrical arkings happen, like artists has been working, like researching with Chris Monk and so forth like that, they were enormous, and they would have had this sort of kinetic energy, a bit like being in a hurricane. This is why they could pick bits up and drop them over, and that's why artists keeps finding bits of houses or bits of structures or whatever. But they would have annihilated us.
Well, most of the people, not all the people, but most of the people.
Yes, and we lived underground. There's many underground cities.
In Turkey, a lot.
Wales, they're finding loads of tunnels. It's like underneath us, there's masses of tunnels.
Yeah, probably people will. Probably some people would see that cataclysm was bound to happen, and they hide underground. It wouldn't surprise me because they had so high advanced technology back then to build all those very amazing structures back then, stones on top of each other. You can almost fit a human hair between them. So they had so much knowledge. They would also maybe calculate that there was something going wrong. That it was that the whole grid they laid out was maybe malfunctioning, and therefore they understood the whole Earth, and therefore they could maybe indicate that there was something bound to happen, and therefore they were building underground civilization to hide from...
The other way is that man became too greedy, and there's warnings in the pyramids. People have sort of said these are kind of like warnings, maybe.
Yeah.
Man got too greedy or wasn't careful enough.
Yeah, indeed. With those light balls, you have those light balls shapes in the pyramids. Yeah, you have those light ball shapes in the pyramids. They appear to be some kind of light balls. And then on the right side of that of those light balls, engraved in a structure. Not in. Did I say pyramid? No, because there are no hieroglyphs in a pyramid, of course. In a structure, they made those light balls, and beside it, there's a text warning: be very careful with this kind of information, and also very careful with if you build this kind of structures. Yeah, so there's indeed a warning in the hieroglyphs.
Yeah, you absolutely could be right, because it's intriguing. It's intriguing because I think if you go back to the theory of the younger dyers global event back in 10,500 years ago, where we had this massive flood, and they seem to suggest that may have been caused by a meteorite strike.
Yeah.
So, if it was, they seem to be prepared for it. So they must have had some knowledge of space travel or space exploration. And you're saying from your experience of Peru, there's a lot of things happening in Peru that was you can only see properly from the sky, and again you're getting a view of back in the day, back in the early civilization, that people seem to be able to see things from above ground. And you look at Avebury, for example. There's a stone circle around there, but there's a big ditch that the stones are basically being built around, and that stone ditch was seemingly, again, this is speculation, I know, but looking at the landscape, it was built of chalk, so it'd been a white circle going round round it like a circle, a white circle with these stones built on top. So it's just intriguing that it seems to be there's lots of examples where we seem to indicate that something was able to see things from above, like 10,500, 12,000 years ago.
Yeah, indeed, that a lot of things point in that direction. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if they could levitate, if they could levitate things, well, they could then levitate it through sky.
Well, I think that's a very good point, because again I've researched that, and it looks like there is possibilities that this is how they move the stones with the huge blocks through a form of levitation. But again, you need a kind of form of triangulation of energies, which mean you need something again above the earth to. It's a bit not complicated, but
can I just say that I'm just going to get a drink, right, and then I'm going to explain something. I think that maybe we should get FPV on, maybe to explain a little bit about his work, because it may actually sort out what this is all about. Maybe I'll have to see where he is. I just want to quickly get a drink.
Of course.
But you're right on point, John. Yeah. Also, I want to point out, I don't know if you saw those pictures of old pictures are from the 50s that they actually moved Stonehenge. It appears to be they have moved Stonehenge and set every stone into concrete. There's actually a whole site with photographs, also from the 1930s and the 1950s, that you can see they are rearranging the stones or putting them. But what is interesting, even on Stonehenge, the stones that were lying down, they lifted up, extracted them from the side, all the stones, and let the grass grow. That seems to appear to be seen like that. Then they dig the holes again and put the stone back again. You don't lift stones up, they are lying down, move them aside, wait a couple of months to let the grass grow, and then the earth back on it, then dig the hole again and put the stone in. That doesn't make sense. So it makes a lot more sense that they moved it to another location. But the stones could be real, only they moved for some sort of reason. I have old photographs. I will send a link to Karen of that site so you can see the photographs for yourself.
Yeah, to see that, yeah.
And also you can see the concrete mix. I don't know if you can see this screen of this Hangout. Can you see the YouTube screen we are on or not?
No, I can't see it. Unfortunately, no, it's annoying. Yeah, no.
Okay, I will send you the link to that site. I will send it. Can you see the chat in YouTube? The live chat.
I'm on the YouTube. I'm on it, but hold on a minute. Hold on.
I can put the link in there, and I put stone and behind it. Here.
Yes, please. Yeah. I'll jump it. Yeah, okay, that'd be good.
Yeah. I put it in live chat on YouTube. Now, so you can see it. You can click on it, and then you get the site of.
Brilliant. Thank you.
It gives an error, but I can post it again. Sometimes you get an error for some reason. Let's do it again. Thanks. Yeah, sometimes.
I'm sorry, I can't add any information onto the YouTube thing, which is a real shame. But never mind. That's.
I'll do it again. I will try it again. Maybe
I'm really appreciating getting the feedback and information, because it's always, I keep saying to everyone, and whenever I go any talks and things, is to maintain open-minded approach to this, because
for sure.
You never know what somebody like yourself comes along and mentions something, and you think, oh my goodness, I never thought of that, and that's an interesting idea. It may contradict. I'm always looking for something to contradict what I think, because it's I just want to make sure that I'm not misleading people or confusing people with my sort of ideas. And remember, basically, they are only ideas and not facts, which I'm presenting.
Your ideas resonate a lot with me, because basically I think in the same way. So
brilliant.
It makes sense. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Sorry?
It makes a whole lot of sense.
A lot of sense.
Yes, good. It's. I think it's intriguing that we've kind of we're all very clever. We're all very, very clever, but yet we're being kind of conditioned to thinking that we're not. And I think I remember there was a very interesting example of. I'm just trying to remember. It was the trade unionist. It was I forgot his name now. It was a chap called Derek Robinson, and he was a trade union leader at the British Leyland back in, I think it was about the 70s or 80s, I think it was. And he was actually trying very hard to find solutions to the British Leyland's industrial problems and to try to turn the car company around. And he was basically trying to get people from just people like you and me, in fact, on the factory floor, as it were, to ordinary working people to explain that they've got the intelligence and the determination to run the industry and to be very helpful. But of course, the management didn't want that. And of course, what they did was, as I was suggesting earlier, is that the media, obviously always on the side of the establishment, gave them a label. And the label was Red Robo. So, of course, once he got the title Red Robo, then that destroyed his credibility. And if you look today at the education system, the health service, and all these areas, there's no teachers involved in the discussions in the education service. There's no nurses involved in running the National Health Service. It's all been done by like a politician who 1 minute is actually in charge of the Ministry of Defence, and the next minute becomes Education Secretary or something. And it's this nonsense that we've got. It's this nonsense we've got to get rid of and get people, because we're all very intelligent. You know, we're all pretty clever. And just the fact that you've got some fat cats running these areas, a lot of them are obviously just really looking after themselves, all self-serving, not really interested in the success of these industries or obviously the self-education system, because they're to the benefit of just normal people. Yep. Sorry about that rant. That was a bit of a rant. Sorry.
Oh no, thank you.
That's okay. You're free to say your opinion on this channel.
And nothing can take 5 minutes, can it?
No. It all kind of gets linked. It just gets linked, and I do think, for example, I mentioned the elites running the world, a small group. Actually, I think they may have gone. I think they maybe didn't survive, and you know, just frailties of. But I think what we're left with is basically establishment that has nobody really guiding them, and so they're just basically. You know, just looking after themselves. I mean, if you look at tax avoidance, tax evasion, if I met you in the street and I didn't want to talk to you and I wanted to evade you or avoid you, it's the same word. Rich people are able to put one of them, plus a lot to say one's okay and the other one isn't okay, so we can't avoid paying tax, otherwise we can get locked up, but they can evade tax big time. And we've even got people like Philip Green, who has got a knighthood, and he's the biggest. He's stealing people's pensions, or has stolen people's pensions, and he's still not in jail.
Have you heard about the death certificate? It's not a birth certificate we live under. Death certificate.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Anyway, let me shut up and let me hear some more of your comments, please.
Oh, well, we asked you to come on and talk. Could you just what it is I'll get Alan to talk in a little bit, because I'd like him to talk a little bit more, because he's doing free energy experiments, which you might be interested in. But this whole thing about Silbury Hill in your presentation. You reckon that this is all part of a bigger complex anyway? It kind of looks like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a huge complex. And I think also, I was going to say, when this meteorite struck Earth 10,500 years ago, it created this huge tsunami that's washed silt, etc., over up Egypt, over the pyramids. Actually, covered the Sphinx, really, apart from the head, which obviously the pharaohs had changed, but when they then, in the future, cleared that away, they then found the lion part of it. But the significant thing it really is that when the meteorite struck, it also moved the equator slightly. So it wasn't in a desert back in that time. It was actually a lush vegetative, lots of vegetation involved in and around Egypt at that time. But whenever you hear people talk about Egypt, it's always got in a desert.
Yeah.
And I think you got to try and look at these things slightly differently. You know, the whole planet was different. I think you go across to probably Scotland, coming back to this area, you're talking about Silbury Hill and so on, and further north up into the Orkneys and so on. Probably at that time, the equator was in a position where the climate was. There's a lot of things happening in I call the Wessex complex around here, but you go all the way up. You come from Brittany and France all the way up to Scotland. There's a huge amount going on. So I'm saying it's maybe not one complex, but there's certainly a series of complexes that were huge.
Do you think all the pyramids were linked to each other?
Sorry?
Do you think all the pyramids were linked to each other on like the ley lines, or?
Oh yeah, yes. Well, there's a fact actually that beneath the pyramids there's tunnels, a series of tunnels. They're linked by by tunnels. Water is a way of they're linked by, but they're probably linked by some kind of energy as well, is which I've been talking about. Yeah.
Indeed, it has.
Lines crossed outside my house in the close outside my house.
Yeah, yeah. Well, where you say you're at Hungerford, yeah?
I'm Thatcham, but
yeah. Well, you're going to be the lines coming down from you know, Stonehenge, or up from from Silbury Hill area and Stonehenge heading down. I mean, you got London. Obviously, there's a lot of positive energy points in there. You know, St Paul's Cathedral and Westminster Abbey, and all these ancient places where monasteries were built, churches were built. I mean, all of the churches built, obviously, they were probably built on something else that was known about as being an important positive energy place, a positive place to build.
yeah, because one of them is the Stonehenge line that goes through, which goes through Silbury Hill. And then two other ones meet outside my house.
Again, there's people, Karen, there's a lot of people I know that have mapped these things out, and they can explain where all these lines go to, and it's quite incredible. Yeah. I don't have that sort of knowledge, other than the fact that I do know that these ley lines exist, or energy lines, earth energy lines, whatever you want to call them. But
yeah. Indeed, there are some videos and indeed drawings that explain those lines, and they are clearly there. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You can also sometimes.
Done to us.
Yeah, well, it's time to waken up. As I basically said earlier, Karen, it's this idea of realizationism. We've got to begin to realize that you know what's happening, and not to be manipulated, not to be frightened, not to say, oh well. I remember, Alan will know in Scotland when they had the referendum to leave, they were told all the banks were going to leave Scotland if they went independent. Well, they weren't, but of course they put that as Project Fear. And of course, people begin to panic and get worried, and of course, you know. But we have to learn to not be aware of what's happening, how we're being manipulated. And I know it's difficult, but we have to try and get control of our own minds, really.
Yeah, that's why they call it the television. They tell their vision, not the real vision.
Yeah.
They want us watching that. They need to control us, and it's a really good way to control us, keep us numbed down, depressed.
Yeah, of course. On the television, I always call it the tell-lie vision. They tell a certain part of the story. They don't give you the whole perspective of the story. They only tell the part that they want to tell to get their way of thinking across, and they leave out all the other parts that are also important, just to paint a picture in the direction they want to go. That's the problem.
It's basically they call it news, but it's not. It's their views. But I'll give you one horrible example. In the States, in terms of Bush and Blair, in Iraq and Saddam Hussein, the American public were beginning to get, you know, they weren't really bothered about, you know, Saddam Hussein. They were just, you know, just let go with it, and just, which we all should have done, like normal. But then they got somebody, a New York Times reporter, a lady reporter, I've forgotten her name now, but they got her to write a story that Saddam Hussein soldiers were killing babies in the southern part of the country. Mm-hmm. And of course, the American public were outraged at this, and that helped spark the war, and then unnecessary things happened. After the war, this reporter admitted that that the story was false. It was fake news, one of the early fake news stories, and it was done to again manipulate the public into thinking that Saddam Hussein was this monster. And actually, 2 years earlier, the Americans and Saddam Hussein were great bedfellows.
Yeah, they do that. They pick a country and then they start saying it's unstable, very unstable. Look at all these things that are happening. All sorts of stories. They'll have to put ones in like such and such has gone missing. This country's got to look unstable one way or another. And then they go in and flatten it.
Oh, it's very easy. You know, it's very easy to get get people to believe that. But I think people are beginning to get just as you mentioned there a moment ago. People are beginning to be very wary of the newspapers, the news on television, and so on. And I don't really watch it now or read newspapers because it's all.
Well, the whole thing is to cover it up so that we don't know who we are and we don't connect.
Yeah.
They don't want us connecting. They don't want us communicating. They just don't.
Yeah. No.
They don't want us waking up.
Yeah, we are waking up, and we are doing research and finding out the truth about ancient historic places and the world that we live on.
Right across us, a wall.
Oh yeah, across the Mediterranean Sea. It's a big wall. It's called the Cyclops Wall. The stories are there that once there was a big race of giants that built it, but that's basically the story to tell the. But if you research that, you can find all those pieces of that wall that is going from Greece all the way to Turkey, all the way. Almost to Egypt. Bits and pieces that are still there. And it's very interesting. Maybe it was once built to prevent the land from flooding. Who knows? But it's interesting that you find all those bits and pieces everywhere. And also very clear, all those earth strikes on the earth. I did a presentation a while back. It's in 3 or 4 parts on the Cinema Group. You can maybe watch it sometimes. And it explains, you can visibly see the strikes. Also in India, it's the shape. It starts very small, it becomes bigger and rounded at the end. And all the mountains are iron rich. They are excavating it. And also very close near those strike zones, not always, but often that's the case, if all these ancient temples or ancient sites. They're not always temples, of course. They always call them temples or burial sites because, if they don't know what it is, just call it temple or burial site. They will believe it anyway. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been trying to put forward that this has been a pyramid? How many years are you trying to get people to listen to
gosh, I think probably at least maybe about 20 years, I suppose.
Oh.
I think back in the day when I first looked at the pyramids, I think the only pyramids I knew were the pyramids in Egypt, and I thought, they were built for pharaohs' tombs and so on, and it was just things just started to unfurl, as it were, and pieces started to fall into place, and I met a lot of very interesting people over the last 20 years. You go from China pyramids to Bosnian pyramids to Egyptian pyramids to pyramids, all over, and you talk to very interesting people and you listen to their views, and some you think that's brilliant, makes a lot of sense. Others you're not so sure about. I mean, you take the Bosnian pyramids, they're interesting, they're intriguing. They may be natural pyramids, they're not built pyramids as you would say in Egypt or potentially Silbury Hill, but they seem to have a similar function. But that's another area. Don't want to get too involved in that. But certainly, I'm totally convinced that Silbury Hill was a pyramid.
Can I ask you something else? Yes, so am I now. Can I ask, on the way to, if you start to go down towards Southampton, on the right-hand side of the road, on the A, whatever it is, 34, you can see mounds. But of course, I'd have looked at them and gone burial mounds, but they're not. There's these mounds everywhere around here, isn't there? There's a lot of mounds.
Yeah.
Not like Silbury Hill, but they're much smaller. But there's just these mounds. There are mounds at Windmill Hill.
Well, you see that in Egypt. There are big pyramids, huge pyramids, and there are small pyramids. I mean, there's a pyramid behind the Red Pyramid, which is the same size as Silbury Hill. Nobody ever talks about it, but if you look at it, it's basically what Silbury Hill would have looked like if it had been standing over the last few thousand years in that kind of climate. But of course, it's in this climate, this wet climate in the UK, and obviously it's weathered considerably more than this particular little pyramid next to the Red Pyramid. If you ever get a chance to look at it, look at a pyramid behind the Red Pyramid, you'll see Silbury Hill.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah. You're exactly right.
Yeah,
But they don't want to make the connection between all those countries. They are building in the same fashion. They don't want to they want to make sure that we don't see that. That's why they silence it. Because if you indeed like you do research and see, hey, behind the Red Pyramid, there's actually a hill that looks exactly, and probably inside it's exactly the same as Silbury Hill, that would link those sites to each other. And then the researchers have a problem because, how do they link to each other? And they don't want to tell that because they want that fake story to be on the news and not the actual story. And that's great that you do this kind of research and that you will talk about it and show people that the history that we have learned is not the real history. But I love the guys like you that who do research and actually show, hey, this looks the same. Oh, this must be the same because it's built in the same fashion. Very clear. Yeah.
I think that more and more people like us are beginning to get access to like the Bodleian Library in Oxford, but the place I'd love to get into would be the Vatican.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they've got amazing stuff hidden away in there, which would be really be cool to see. But then I need to live another 50 years to go through all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that? Do you think that Silbury was just one of other pyramids there, or do you think that was just one pyramid there and all the other things like the stone circle, windmill here?
No, I think there's quite a few there. Yeah, there's quite a number. It may not have been the biggest either. I mean, you just do see, if you look around that landscape, you do see areas where it's hard to explain really, but things have been left. You know, there's a sort of respect given to certain parts of certain fields. You see a big round area that hasn't been ploughed or whatever. You notice that as you go up from Bighampton round a bit out towards Devizes. If you look across that where there's a horse racing track going along there, you'll see little areas where there's been things there, and maybe maybe even just the last 100 years, but they've now gone. Yeah, but certainly just to answer your question, Karen. Yes, Silbury Hill. I don't know how it survived. I don't know why that survived.
Yeah, because it's right on a main road, isn't it?
Because
it's right on a main road. It's not like it's...
Yeah, I think it survived just simply because it was next to Avebury. I think somehow or other it kind of got left because obviously there's all those stones and it was maybe to do with it. It's actually obviously very wet around Silbury Hill. If you ever go there, sometimes a year there's a big lake around it. Not good farmland, so they wouldn't knock it down to build for farmland, so it's been left. And interesting, if you look at all the photographs or drawings of Silbury Hill, you find it's much steeper, much more pyramid shaped. It's more like a cone, a big cone.
Step pyramid.
Hmm?
A step pyramid.
It is a step pyramid, yeah. Yeah. In fact, again, in the presentation that you mentioned that I did, the English Heritage again had mentioned that there'd been building blocks, and they mentioned the size of them that they found at the top of the blocks of stone. They could measure them, and I think I did a reproduction of one of the stones that was found in Silbury Hill. So it was basically potentially a step pyramid, yeah. It's the same as you've got in Egypt, the step pyramid at Saqqara.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a pyramid now that's got a hole in it, just like Silbury Hill's got a hole in it on one side, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, Silbury Hill obviously been so badly treated. I mean, over the years there've been different
people going in there, tunneling in it.
They'll tunnel into it and so on. So it's basically a wrecking off. Mr. Richard Atkinson, who was the guy who did the excavation in 1969, he didn't make any notes. I mean, he went in there, he did this thing that the BBC had cameras in it and all the rest of it, trying to make it trying to interest people in archaeology, but with the idea to find this king's sill in the middle and some gold or whatever. It was just all kind of TV nonsense. But he actually did a lot of destruction inside the hill with the tunnel. But also when he was asked about it, it was like a pile of chalk. But I've read somewhere that after dinner talks, he likened Silbury Hill to a multi-layered cake.
Yeah, I've kind of been looking into it a bit more. It's a bit like they
which
built.
would be like steps.
They built.
Sorry.
Yeah, carry on. No, carry on.
No, you carry on, Karen. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
Well, the ones I've seen lately, obviously, because I've put a couple of videos out about Silbury Hill, was that they built a bit, and then they built a bit more, and then they built the outer bit. But all she'd say on the heritage was, well, they put this together very well, otherwise it would have slumped, and you'd just had a smaller mound slumped. And you think, oh, like, oh,
yeah,
they knew.
Yeah.
And they kept away from telling everybody there was a cavity down there, didn't they? When on that.
That's
program?
right. Yeah. In fact, Jim Leary, who was the main English archaeologist in the project, even in his book now, there's a paragraph written about an article in the Marlborough Times back, I can't remember, it was 1912 or something, where they used to go into this cavity inside the hill. And also, just after he did the excavation, he mentioned this sarsen stone or granite, if you like, that were found in the top of the hill, which took them by surprise. But obviously, that's a sarsen cap, which there's one on the top of the Great Pyramid. Had been one on the top of the Great Pyramid as well. As I mentioned before, it was used to convert energy into seismic signals, so they could transmit signals. Again, this comes back to the idea that there's obviously something flying about to pick up. Well, where am I? Oh, I'm at Heathrow. Well, not obviously Heathrow then, but it would be like Giza.
They were like, for instance, it seems that if you like the ones in Mexico, there are nice looking ones, there are ugly looking ones with vibes and that. Like the frequencies could be different depending on which crystals they were using, and it's just like then there's this sort of acoustic side of things.
Well, I said Silbury was the sarsen stone, but the pyramids in Egypt mainly granite. But they're all the same. They're all basically transducers. You can use as transducers, converting one form of energy into another. That was one of their purposes. Obviously, I guess other purposes which we just don't know about. Right?
Could you just explain, like, because someone's asked, what chalk? Why was that pyramid made in chalk? There's a reason why. You explained it earlier on.
It was basically, I think, chalk. It's basically limestone. It was built of limestone because that was the material that was around. And maybe it was just it was the material that was around, and another thing was that it was. They say that the big pyramids, the Great Pyramids, are all white. So again, I've mentioned this about the Avery Circle. Again, the chalk meant again it would be quite easily quite visible from above, and there may also be a scientific or physics reason for it being made of limestone. That needs to be looked into. But I think mainly the only thing I can say is basically that was the material that was around at Avery Silbury Hill site. As you know, where you are and up and down there, it's a huge area where basically things are built on chalk. That's one of the reasons why lots of golf courses around Wiltshire, you can play all the year round in the golf course because the water drains through the chalk quite quickly.
What do you reckon they would have looked like? Do you actually reckon that they were all stone and chalk and all this, and they haven't been petrified?
No, they were. I think for example, the main pyramids in Egypt, I reckon they had there was a face put on them. They had a fascia of white fascia on them, and I reckon there's writing on it as well. But again, some of that is just stuff I've researched and read about, but I don't have any fact. Again, this is probably stuff. There's probably parts of the fascia still exists, but it's hidden away somewhere, so you can't actually tell, or you can't actually see what it is. But they did find there was one case, I think, World War II, where some American pilots were flying back over China from maybe Japan, so I don't know quite where, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And they flew over and they saw this huge white pyramid with a crystalline cap on the top. They call that crystalline cap, basically made of granite. And so they flew over that in China. That was way back in 1944, I suppose it was. So again, there's a pyramids like that in China, but I've seen some, but not the ones, not the main ones. They won't allow you to see some of this other main stuff.
Oh, Alan's joined us again. Alan
Yeah.
dropped off. He's come back. Did your free energy run out, Alan?
It did.
Just to explain that,
Tom.
Alan has his flat running off what is it? It's an electric bike.
Okay, so he's tired out.
No, the bike actually runs itself.
Runs itself.
Oh, John, there is a video that they fly over those pyramids in China.
All right.
Yeah, that was maybe a month or 3 ago, something like that. Somebody took a drone and flew all over those pyramids in China. Yeah,
Right,
very
right.
interesting.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting, and they all come out with the same script. That basically the pyramids, they were built for tombs for their emperors or whatever. But yeah, that's the sort of they all come out with the same. Yeah.
Can I just say, the one that you said's like Silbury Hill, I went and looked at one because I don't know what it's called. And the thing is, it called the Bent Pyramid.
It's not. It's near the. Is it behind the Bent Pyramid? It might be. Yeah, it might be behind the Bent Pyramid. Yes, I beg your pardon. I maybe got that wrong. I think that Silbury Hill Pyramid is behind the Bent Pyramid. Yeah.
Would be.
Do you know what it's called?
No, I don't think it's got a name. Actually, it probably has a name, but I couldn't find out anything about it. You probably can. You probably got to embarrass me by saying you found out. You've done some research. And you found out the name of this pyramid. I just called it Silbury Hill.
Because the Bent Pyramid looks like Silbury Hill.
But yeah, there's a little pyramid. I mean, Bent Pyramid's huge, big pyramid, but behind it, it's the same size as Silbury Hill. But it's a pyramid you can see clearly.
I think the Red Pyramid's the biggest one, and the Bent Pyramid's behind it.
There are two different places, but they're all in the Giza complex, but plateau.
So why is there so many there, and only? I reckon it's one of the first ones. That means they all link back to Silbury Hill.
Well, again, they're just saying a different. Back in that day, there were different conglomerations. So that would be an area that would be quite a big population, and there were a lot of development went on there for a reason, as there was in the Silbury Hill Stonehenge area. So that they're just a different. Like you have London, you've got Paris, and you've got different places there. Back in that time, we would have had different places, and why Egypt has so many pyramids and so on. And I still think there's quite a lot more I haven't found there yet, as there is here.
I haven't managed to get hold of FPV. FPV's been coming on lately and giving a presentation to how he thinks the world works. But I mean, maybe we could have you back, or I could send you a link and show you what he is, because I think it will help.
Yeah, no, that'd be great to find out. I'm always, that'd be great. But
it will help with your pyramid stuff, I think, because it's just I'm pretty sure you're going to see why I sent it to you.
Right.
But I can't explain it. It's just too much to do on the computer. Yeah. I'm really pleased that I stumbled across you. I didn't even know whether to say we were a flat Earth group, because I thought I just would like you to come on and talk about the pyramid, because you know that out there, if you say flat Earth, they want to kill you. They're not very nice. So we've all encountered, and of course, Sun and Moon is a sort of a community growing. There's people from India all around the world, and we have hangouts and we talk about things, as well as people who are really researching, like Stan Smith. He's been on the chat room tonight with his 360 camera. And then you've got people with different models, different workings below the ground, on the ground, above the ground. And you've got people like artists, you've got people like Alan. And we've all come together because we all know that we're being lied to. We all know that we're on some flat plane, and as best as possible to be a community.
No, I think that's brilliant, and I think the other good thing from what we've been hearing is that you all sound pretty open-minded and prepared to listen, to take on board things, and listen, but maybe discard things, but at least keep an open mind, and that's how you proceed, really. And I think we'll do well. I think you guys will definitely develop and grow into a much bigger family unit.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, and give all your expertise about Silbury Hill and sites that are related to that. Yeah, it's always great that we have people who do great research like you. Yeah, thank you for being here. And you're always welcome to come back over here. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to go just now. We're just, I mean, I know that maybe you don't want to stay too long, but we're just saying thank you.
Yeah.
Because
no, that's my pleasure.
You know, like we're a group of researchers anyway. Sun and Moon doesn't own anybody. You know, these people come free of will, like you've come on. Some people come back regularly because they're really happy about being on this panel because we don't argue. We're not here to argue. We're here to learn more because we already know this. I mean, for instance, you know, like what the sun really is. It's incredible in our perspective bubble. You know, Judith, who hasn't come on tonight, she takes photographs. She's not the only one with her P900. And the sun is going down in the sea in front of her. And it doesn't actually go into the sea. It just looks like it disappears into the sea. But it disappears maybe 5-10 miles away from her. So this whole thing we're living in is just the most amazing place. But
absolutely.
Do you think the pyramids were made... They're there because that's how we were made? Or do you think that is man living here and has created them? Or do you think they were actually how we were made and we weren't supposed to find them or understand them or whatever?
Well, I think the clue to why they're made is if I go back to just kind of come along with me on this journey. We were an extraterrestrial-led civilization back in about 12,000, 13,000 years ago. They basically bred with or genetically manipulated Homo sapien. So your Homo sapien basically became, this is the start of humanity. So they then developed this race of humans, and I think you find that as they developed it, they found that there were people who were workers, and they probably had a tattoo on them, as we use tattoos now, but we're not really knowing why. But they were workers. There's another level of something else, another level of builders, and so they had this very incredible, well-organized structure or civilization, and we often say this today, oh, you should know your place, and I think back in that time, they kind of was all in place, but then the tsunami hit, as I mentioned, and destroyed the civilization. But what came through from then to us now is this, what I call this transgenerational memory gene, which we all have inherited this amazing knowledge. So when you're talking about your group, remember you're all very clever because you've got this information. Now, to answer your question about the pyramid, if I noticed there was a conference a couple of years ago, where they're planning to build a structure on the moon, which would be near the pole, so there'd be water flowing underneath it, and it'd be a storage facility, and it would be able to emit signals, and the storage facility would be for holding our information. And guess what the shape of this construction is? Pyramid shape. So pyramids were built.
We've never been to the moon.
You can imagine E.T. maybe had some problems with atmospheric conditions on Earth.
We've never been to the moon.
Sorry?
Can I just? I'll get Alan to Alan. Explain to John how far up you reckon firmament is, and so we've never been any further than that, and where the sun and the moon are.
Well, the sun and moon are within the dome of the firmament. I have proof of that, and stars are 60 miles up. The distance to the firmament or the dome is more than that. Certainly the stars are 60.
How much higher up do you reckon the firmament is, even though, and you reckon it fits us like a wax seal, that Alan has picked up the north, south, east, west and above us all on these scalar waves and the equipment that he used. He was actually doing research, and maybe they didn't know that he knew what it was because he's into free energy and all this kind of stuff. So he put it all together in his mind and realized that what he was seeing. And that's how he made this radio where he can pick up the heartbeat.
Right.
The radio isn't even on. It doesn't get powered by anything.
Yeah, it runs itself.
Well, you need to look at that really from a commercial point of view.
Well, the thing is, Alan's been a little bit worried for the same reason like you did when you said that maybe if you become a bit more sort of known, you know, because he's done some sensitive work, and so, you know, but anyway, I think things are all right now. But Alan just would like to free source like energy. You can obviously use water, you can use air, you can use. He's got this bike going. He just hopes that people can get all this in their houses. He'd like it open source so people can do their own. I mean, you don't have to burrow into the ground. You can tap into free energy down there as well.
That's right.
Of course you can. I mean, if you look back, sorry, Alan, just a second. If you look back, the whole energy thing, the reason why we're driving cars with diesel engines, diesel oils, is because, again, back to the establishment, back to the elites, they're making fortunes out of selling us oil. And there's been so many inventions, brilliant inventions that you just going to be talking about that don't burn up fossil fuels and so on, but they've been just bought up by these big companies, by Ford and so on, and bought and hidden away in their archives.
I know that Alan's going to come in and talk in a second, and I know that Artist wants to say a bit more, but through Artist's research, right, what he said he thought maybe he'd find 1 or 2 electric car companies before the First World War, but he was amazed. It wasn't just one. There was ream after ream of these things. They could even get to 120 odd miles an hour. They could last for hours, powered, before they needed to be recharged. Then
they broke speed records. You could drive 200 plus miles on one single charge in an electric car back in 1925. So.
Wait, I talked about earlier about people being discredited, making out be track box or whatever. One of the classic ones there was Tesla. I mean, he came up with some brilliant ideas, but obviously he didn't want this to get out into the pyramid kind of energy things and so on. But again, a lot of his inventions are hidden away. I mean, we're trying to get hold of them, but we can't.
Patented. Then we had the First World War. And then we had the Second World War, quite a lot of infrastructure damage here, which they'd have to do to us because they need to then reset us.
Yep.
Yes.
And then what it was is, then we come out of the Second World War, comes televisions, comes space, comes gas, comes oil, comes daylight savings, comes the globe.
Yeah.
And they only did it in the 60s. They turned us into a ball in the 60s. Not 400 years ago, the 60s. Artists found newspaper articles which were saying if you believe in the ball, it's against the law.
Yeah.
So in the 1900s, this was the other way round. And yet, whatever they've done to us, they've turned us into quite nasty people. Because you try telling someone out there, I said it's like you've killed their mother. We're telling them the truth because we've woken up. And they want to almost kill you or discredit you or get out. You know, it's like...
We can. I mean, Alan will tell you the most generous. I mean, common people are the most generous people that you. I mean, I've come across some pretty poor people in Glasgow, and they're the most generous people that you'll ever come across, and helpful. And I find that all over the world. Where you come across, you're sort of normal. I call normal people like us. So I wouldn't despair about the human race. I despair about the people who are manipulating us.
Yeah, indeed, the people are never the problem. The people who are on top who are manipulating the people, they are the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
The people are never the problem. If you go to Iran, you can talk with somebody, and you go to other countries, you can talk with people, and they're very kind and helpful. Nothing is the matter.
Yeah.
The people on top, they set the people up against each other in form of fear mongering. Yeah.
Yeah, just for their own needs, their own. But we have to get right. We've got to get ourselves together on this and realize that this has been happening, and you just need to go right the way back. And you go back to the time of Jesus and so on in terms of religion. And again, that's another massive thing that was done to control us.
Yeah.
And if you look at that very carefully, religion and so on. Of course, there's different religions. But, I mean, there's a lot of blind faith involved there, the virgin birth, the resurrection, all these things, and the miracles and so on that were being fed. No doubt there was a remarkable person back in the day, as there were probably many, but they've kind of used this, and, of course, the church became really powerful, particularly the Catholic Church.
And now they just have to control us.
And they also don't tell you how to read the Bible, because if you read the Bible like Santos does with a presentation on a group, you see that the Bible has a whole nother meaning as the church actually states. And that's the problem. The church wants power and tells a story they want to tell about the Bible, but that's not actually the real story.
No.
That's the problem. They don't give us the whole story, just parts of it. The Bible we can buy in a store is basically a very, very small, shortened version of actually, I think, 12 books. And they left out, I think, maybe 4 or 5 books. Who knows? Maybe more. So we get a sized down version that actually all the important stuff is sometimes left out. And Santos does some presentations about the Bible and tells that it's in a whole other way. It's with Adam being an atom, and it's all in.
We should be actually like thinking of Mother Earth and God's. It's the other way around. It's female, not male.
It's basically.
That's another thing. That's an interesting point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Indeed, and that's what they do. They count on it always. They tell a story like the Vatican does and other government does. They tell a story and they count on it that you don't do your own research, because if you do, you will find out that they are lying most of the time.
This group's open to all this stuff. Obviously, we have all these people coming on, and we have Matt who sees everything in triangles, and I think you'd like to talk to him as well. And he had a stroke and died, but didn't die. He was revived, but his brain doesn't work quite like ours now, and he sees the frequencies. He reckons that his family tree puts him as related to Tesla, and every day he is. He comes to sun and moon. So
this is the thing. You look back, you can say, well, I've got the same colour of eyes as my mother, and I've got the same colour of hair as my father. Whatever. So you can look at physical characteristics that's similar to your parents or your grandparents, or your great grandparents. And it's obviously quite obvious that you're inheriting all sorts of other stuff through the memory process, through their memory. And so you do get people now who have these previous life experiences, and they can say that I was this person back in the day, and they firmly believe it because it's quite a strong, powerful thing in their coming out of their unconscious memory. And if you had a horrible experience back in the 13th century, which is most likely we all had, but somehow in your unconscious memory it's kept trapped, as I said before, like with Microsoft, with your operating system, you can't get access to it. But some people can just get a little hiccup, and they maybe get some information coming through, and it can cause them serious mental issues if some of this stuff starts to leak through.
It's just it's just like you're passing on DNA. You're also passing on memories. That makes sense. Yeah.
And plus, you're the moment. How your mum and dad felt about themselves and each other and everything is that conception of you. That's what you're made from, is how they felt about each other.
Also,
that's interesting, isn't it? You're the energy from that. Can I just say that Alan is into all this free energy, but Alan also loves pyramids, don't you, Alan?
I do, yes.
Do you want to explain your little bit on pyramids? Because obviously we've talked quite a lot, you and me.
Yeah, rather listen to Alan. I'd like to hear Alan's take on it, definitely. Please.
All the pyramids, we know that they were all connected in a similar system to what the grid is, the electric grid around us. So the pyramids, I believe, were connected in a similar way as a persons.
Yeah, no, it's just so intriguing, isn't it?
I've just found out as well. I went to Denmark. My friend lives right at the top of Denmark. There's a little slither of land which sticks out, about 10 miles long. And, what's the place at the top, artist?
Oh, yeah, what's called?
The name's gone right out of my mind. What the Skagin.
Oh, yeah.
There's a pyramid there.
Yeah, I didn't know that one, yeah.
And what it is that there's a lot of bunkers there in the Second World War, because obviously the two seas meet there, and they wanted dominance over the entrance coming in, because you could get to Sweden and Norway and all the other countries by coming through this opening. Even though it's called a sea, I don't see how it's a sea, but it's a sea. And you know, I've been there twice, and it's like there's all these sand dunes. There's a sand dune, like not many people realise that the biggest sand dune in the north is going through Denmark. So, you know, there are sand dunes in other places, but the biggest one is in Denmark, and this thing is rolling slowly across the land. I was just like, I only found it about a month ago or something, realising there's a pyramid there as well, right there. It's
well, I think the conclusion you come to here is they're all over the place, aren't they?
Because what it is they've got all these bunkers, and they're all overgrown, and there's sand dunes all overgrown, so there's a higgledy-piggledy mound, and in there's a pyramid.
Right, yeah. Gosh.
It's amazing. I just think this is incredible, though, this amount of lying. It really kind of just really upsets me, because a lot of people say they don't care. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything to me. What will it mean to me tomorrow? But once you know the truth, it changes everything for you. Hopefully makes you a better person and more spiritual, maybe. And hopefully wants to connect to other people. But like the realization that we're in some game. It's just one big fat game we're in. It's quite freaky, really. I think it's quite freaky.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I think the interesting thing about the being in the game is that the people who are manipulating us are trying, what can we do next? Oh, we'll make everybody fat. And
that's subversion, though, isn't it? That's part of this communism they've got us in.
And it's back to what I was saying. You must start
demoralize the people, get them fearful of the front, fearful looking back at history, fearful in the now. And the way I see like flat Earth to me is it's all about being here and now, and that's what they're trying to stop us being as humans, here and now.
But
I think you carry on, sorry.
I think it's great that you mentioned that they want to get us fat, because if you see what the amount of sugar is in products today, it's ridiculous. They put sugar in everything. Sometimes if you have now pickles, if you buy pickles in the store, they have sugar in it. They didn't have that back in the day. And that's why I always encourage everybody to read the ingredients list. Because sometimes you see corn syrup, high fructose syrup, dextrose, and they're all sugar. And sometimes it's 25% of the actual product. All that sugar. And what I always give as an example, read the ingredients list, and some people think that's very hard, but after a while you will recognize all the bad additives and preservatives that are in their food. And you also will see that they put additives in them that will even make your mind think that you're not full. It shuts down the system in your mind that you think that you are full. Normally when you eat, you get to a certain amount that you feel full. And your body tells your mind that you're full. Now they have in certain brands of food, they have put an additive in that shuts down that system. And if you eat those kinds of food often, that system gets destroyed. And therefore you don't feel full anymore, and therefore you will get fat. And they also put additives in there that taste so good that you want to eat more, of course. Flavor enhancers. And you see that even with and what I always say, if you don't want to do a lot of research but still want to eat healthy, look at the packaging. And if it looks like a chemistry exam, don't buy it. Go around.
Yeah. But this is the worrying thing now, is that in the past, if you take cigarettes, for example, we were kind of told that you're a really hard man if you're a man, or you're really tough if you smoke cigarettes. If you're a woman, you're kind of like really free-spirited and so on. And then this is all promoted by the film industry, and of course people like Howard Hughes, who run a lot of these studios, also had a big stake in the tobacco industry. But this is all kind of manipulated again by certain people, big business. Like, it was a good thing to smoke. Of course, we know it isn't.
Yeah.
But at least again, they realise that nowadays they can't go along those lines because we're getting cleverer. So what they do now is they don't tell us not to eat certain foods. They don't tell us to eat certain foods. They actually, as you just correctly said, they actually are doing things to the food that even though you in your own mind you say, well, I'm not going to eat that, but if you do eat something that you've just described, you find it's kind of moreish and all this kind of stuff. So these companies now, the pharmaceutical companies that are pretty well involved, they are really the enemy, whereas the past was the tobacco industry. Now the enemy, really the big enemy, the big people to look out for is the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
We don't need statins, we don't need flu injections, we don't need a lot of these things, but we're told
as much as possible, try not to go to the doctor at all for anything.
Yeah.
Well, you also have antibiotica. You get at the doctor. But you actually have a natural antibiotica that is called propolis. I was sick this week. 2 days I had a sore throat and everything. And I took extra propolis. So normally I only take it in the morning.
They're not promoting all the good things that can help you. They're just giving you all the bad things.
If you research propolis, there's even a very good video about propolis on YouTube. And if propolis is basically extracted from the beehive, and it's a natural antibiotic without any side effects. And it even slows down the growth of cancer. That is tested, and it also prevents a lot of other diseases to happen. And my dad had even an ailment, and he used propolis, and now it's gone.
Yeah. See, I was playing golf a few months back with a retired surgeon, and he was saying that the doctors and so on were actually being given a kind of a bonus from the pharmaceutical companies for recommending statins. So they were actually getting paid for every person patient that took statins. They were getting some kind of a bonus from the pharmaceutical company.
I know somebody that indeed what you're telling is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know somebody who worked in a pharmaceutical company, and they also made medicine for farm animals. And if you know what that medicine contains, you will stop eating meat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because what they do, they actually they put inside all the farm animals certain kind of pills they feed them, so they get as fat as possible. All the insects that are in a cow die because they shut down the nerve system.
Yeah.
They have to stop a couple of months before they slaughter the cow, but then the cow loses weight. So most of the time it's not done. So therefore it gets in the food system, just like antibiotica gets in the food system. And that's why almost every 5 years they have to make a stronger antibiotica to actually work on a human again. That's the problem. So nowadays you get so much stronger of an antibiotica sometimes that is almost like a chemo cure for cancer. It's so strong that most of the people get sick from it. But there is a natural antibiotica, and that's called propolis, but they don't use it because that cures, that prevents. If you can take propolis every day, doesn't matter. Every day you can take 2 pills. Doesn't matter. And it prevents you from getting certain ailments. But they don't want to prevent something. No. They want to earn money from you. So they want you to stay sick. Okay, they can earn more money from you.
Artist, can I ask a question? Because obviously time's moving on a little bit.
Yes, I must let you get on with your own debate. Sorry.
No, it was your evening this evening. You said something earlier on. I'd just like you to explain it again. It just sounds like suddenly, when you get to one of those space movies, and what it is they get there and they suddenly come across this control room, and it's basically someone else trying to tell the world or whoever's found the videos what's happened to them, and that they've been taken over and slaughtered or whatever's gone on. It almost makes it sound like that is what you were explaining that Moses was about. He was recording everything. He had something. He wasn't what we. He isn't what we think he is.
I was trying to think what that was.
Sorry, Noah. I meant Noah. Sorry.
Noah. No, yes, no. Where I think Noah came into it was that he kind of led the survival of after this huge flood. The Johannesburg disaster that happened when we're assuming there's a meteorite strike. It could have just been natural earthquake, flooding, and whatever it happens. Doesn't really.
Well, there's electrical arcs.
There's a massive disruption to the planet back about 10,500 years ago, and there's books written about it that really perfectly explain what happened. But I think some of the survivors of this ET-led civilization was probably Noah, and there were, if you look back at some of the writings, they say that these people actually lived quite a long time, longer than our lifespan, and also they're much taller, and there's all sorts of other things that went on. But anyway, so Noah was in fact one of the survivors, and so he basically knew that all this information was stored in the pyramid. Now, this information obviously was the ET knowledge that they had, mathematical knowledge, all sorts of knowledge, which was basically stored in the pyramid. And I think a lot of people at the time did come to look at to pick up information from Egypt, but I think a lot of it had actually mysteriously disappeared. And I think the reason it disappeared was that Noah and maybe a group thought for the benefit of what the survival of mankind that they needed to control it, and so therefore they hid this or kept this knowledge safe somewhere else, away from the general public or the general population, so that they kind of knew what was going to maybe happen now, because as we are moving through each generation, we're just uncovering knowledge from their history. So they're really, we're just uncovering their knowledge, if you like, but we're just doing it slowly over each generation through a process of genius. So although the information is long gone or been stolen or whatever, you can't actually take the information out of the memory of each generation that's coming through. And it didn't stay in the top ranks, because obviously as we've moved forward, if you see it with monarchs through the centuries, they have children with, like, well, they say that about Leonardo da Vinci. They think his mother was a daughter of one of the popes, of a pope, and his father was like a woodcutter. So his gene was he's getting a gene from a very high source, if you like, and a higher. As I mentioned, it's about tattoos. There are different levels, and there are obviously people at the very top. But it's all got this all over the centuries, but all mixed up, and we're all kind of a mixture of really high quality memory information. And I think intelligence really is the ease in which you can access some of this knowledge. I think some
But
people.
the ark isn't a boat; it's a building.
Yes, that's what they're basically saying now. The ark. So the idea of again, should be brainwashed with the idea that animals came in 2 by 2, and you're saving these animals. It doesn't make sense really when you think about it. You'd want to save your knowledge, your information. So what happened with us, if we were going to see something, just trying to repeat the thing, something disastrous was going to happen, you try and save information, how to grow crops, just the basic things, how to different your language, your all sorts of things, culture. You try to save all this stuff, not animals really. And so there wasn't an ark. Ark was mistranslated into being a boat when it should have been basically, as I was suggesting, again, speculation on my part, but this is what I've heard, it was likely to be an appointed structure, which was mentioned, and then I jumped to the conclusion, pointed structure, what does that mean? Well, a pyramid. And when you look at these pyramids, they've all got chambers inside. And the Great Pyramid, which is interesting, I was actually down in the subterranean chamber. So beneath the base of the pyramid, there's a well, and there's channels going down there that obviously water had been flowing underneath there when water did flow back in 10,000, 12,000 years ago.
Wow. Just asking anybody in the chat room, did they know that information?
It's a lot to take in, some of this stuff, because it's kind of, you hear about years and years of research and information that's coming through, and conclusions that you got to be careful you don't jump to. I'm not jumped to these conclusions because they've been analysed and looked at and worked on and all the rest of it over the last 20, 30 years. So I'm trying to bring things to you that are kind of fairly realistic or plausible, but you have to put your own from your own knowledge and your own life experience, you put on your own interpretation, and hopefully if I've said something that makes you think and go off and find something even more interesting, or find something really startling and go off and write a book or something, then fantastic. That would be brilliant.
Trouble's put a question in the chat room. She's basically saying, so is Noah's Ark is like a lab, a DNA with DNA stored in it, like a seed bank, like the Switzerland one?
Well, that's a good question. I think, again, whatever was stored in the pyramid, if you've ever been in the Great Pyramid, there's been information stored in there. Now, it could well be, this is just a point maybe she's suggesting or making, that maybe there was almost a birth chamber, because they always had to, there were obviously only a handful would have come. I asked if we were going on to land on a different planet, there would only be a few of us, but you very quickly suss out the population, see what would be, or the vegetation, or what would be useful. But you probably already pre-planned that before you even landed. You probably done a lot of research going back and forth to Earth before to research it before actually landing on it, and you have some kind of blueprint or some plan. So it could easily be that what the chat, the person mentioning the chat room is suggesting that, yeah, it could, you have to kind of be open-minded and think that could be amazing, what just things we can't even think of that they had stored and they were developing or using inside the pyramid. Yeah.
If we're in an enclosed system, though, how did anybody get in?
Say that again?
If we're in an enclosed system, which Alan's found, then we can't get in or out.
What do you mean by enclosed system?
He's picked it up as a frequency. He's not sure if it's solid. Is that
right?
Alan, just explain that bit.
Hello?
Hello. Explain the bit about the scalar waves and what it's picked up, what it means, what you can tell so far.
Well, basically, the scalar waves were emitted. Scalar waves are emitted in rings which expand as they rise upwards, and it was these rings when they bounced off the firmament and reflected back in a focal cone to where it sent them from. That proved there was a dome. Whether the dome is solid, molten, energy field, I'm not sure, but there definitely is a dome there. There is
definitely
a
frequency, though, isn't it? You've picked up that
system. Sorry?
Yeah. Definitely a frequency.
Yes.
I mean, again, I've heard people talk about some of these structures that we've seen, these mounds, and they've mentioned that they may not have been pyramid shaped, they could have been conical shaped, some of them. So there's you've got to kind of again be open to what kind of how these energies kind of get produced and or transmitted. So there's maybe combinations of pyramid shapes, dome shapes, or different geometric shapes. I don't know. It's just, I mean, Alan's onto something there, or he's got some information there which I need to look into a little bit more.
The thing is that he may not have actually been looking for it at the start. It was his job, and he was doing research for them. And then this is what's happened, and he used the equipment that found it.
Yeah.
And he reckons this firmament thing is like a wax seal over us. How do you know that then, Alan? If you don't know if it's more than a frequency, how do you know that it's like wax sealed over us then?
Well, the dome is whatever the shape. We're on a flat Earth, we know that. Whatever the shape of the flat Earth is, the dome encapsulates us. We're within a closed system.
As far as we can tell, we've never been out of it.
No, we've never been out of it, no.
We've never been out of it. So we can never get in. But then I really can't show you right now because I just think my computer would be too slow. And anyway, it would just you wouldn't be able to keep up because if you're watching this on the feed on the chat side of it, it's about 10 seconds behind, so it just wouldn't match. I'm going to send you FPV's work because what he's found is that the sun and the moon aren't working because of galaxies and up there. They're actually working from the land. And the angels and what else are they called? Angels and I can't think what they're called now. They're working from the ground. And when you see that, I think it will help you with the pyramids. But I tried to get FPV. He might be on another Hangout, see, and
yeah. Anyway, no, that's well, it's just God, it's good. At least you're listening to this, so you can ask, you can make contact with these chaps, these other people when you get a chance to talk to them, and they'll give you another angle, another point to look into.
We're just saying, like Alan's actually done some research, and there's definitely something up there protecting us, keeping us in. Whether it's just a really strong frequency we could never get through.
Yeah, it's
and then with FPV's work, the Nazca lines are a blueprint of what we're living on. The Nazca lines, and it's everywhere. And so this is why the pyramids would connect with each other.
Yeah, there's definitely. I think the conclusions we come to really is there's pyramids on all over Earth, and we're all connected, and there's going to be some kind of footprint. They're all kind of almost made similar spec, if you like, and so there's certainly. I mean, it took us years to discover America, to discover other countries, but this is already in place way back many thousands of years ago. So,
do you think that they would have looked like they do now, but just in better condition, or do you think that they were crystal?
So what looked like the pyramids?
Well, there's supposedly a few found under the sea in the Bermuda Triangle, and they're crystal.
Yeah, well, they obviously looked. I mean, they may be been. I don't know. Water probably doesn't preserve them that much as well. But they just, this is where it's interesting. At some point, maybe computer graphics or computer studies will show how you can take something like Silbury Hill or the pyramids and go back in time, looking at what they're made of, limestone or granite or whatever, and go back in time and see how long it takes for that aging process. And maybe there's somebody will produce some kind of computer model to show it going back so far. But I think 4,500 years of the establishment thinking is too short a time for these things have been taking a lot longer to collapse and decompose. Even the Great Pyramids in Egypt are still pretty well intact, really, considering.
Because that's what I'm wondering, whether they're as old as they say they are. Knowing now, because they've lied about so much and so much of our history. And I mean, this whole place that's pretending that we live on a ball. It's just, like every time they turn the television on, everybody's lying all the time. We're just being lied to 24/7. We're being told what to think.
You're just misled, really, I think.
Every other advert's got cancer on it or something. I mean, television's to numb you down and to keep you like a zombie.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, we were more, I mean, you think back in the day, back in the 19th century, the 18th century, the 15th century, whatever, that people were really stupid and all this, but they weren't. They probably had as good a way of life as we have. Because you say we're like, some of us are 30 odd stone, and we're not prepared to do anything for ourselves, and we're not prepared to look after our own medical situation, our own health,
haven't they? Because I mean, I'm not saying that it's not me. I do it too, but we just go to Tesco's and buy it all. Whereas even 20, 30 years ago, our grandparents and everything, they were growing it all in their garden.
Yeah, well, we've progressed, and the sad thing is we're making fantastic progress with obviously computer technology and all the stuff that's going on, but we're not really using it. We're not using a lot of it to benefit us properly. Just the things you were saying, where it's all being used to benefit really just a handful of people. There's a handful of people at the top getting richer and richer and richer, and at the other end of the scale, people are getting poorer and poorer and poorer, and it's that differentiation between rich and poor is just growing and growing every day. I'm talking here about the Western world, really, UK and France and Germany and USA. I mean, it's quite embarrassing, really. It's becoming really embarrassing, just how bad it's becoming. I mean, to the point where we can see now that the rich people are looking after themselves to the point where there's no financial guy in the 2008 crash gone to jail, as far as I know, and yet they've run off with billions of pounds, millions of pounds. And people running off with people's pensions. I had a friend of mine a few years ago who worked for the Daily Mirror, and when Maxwell ran off with the pension, and he's still working, and he's in his 70s now, well into his 70s, I think into his 70s, and he still has to work because there's no pension.
You know, like you've learnt your information that way. I had a problem with my bank. They said that they were able to sort it out. I went to the ombudsman. It made me wait 4 years, and then they told me they couldn't help me, which means that they're a whole government body being paid to do nothing, because by the time they get around to your case, they can't help you, because what they'll say is, can't help you, the time's lapsed, and they don't take the 4 years they took into consideration. So everything is just set up as a game. Nothing works anymore. I'm so surprised things just work. The whole thing is set up to fail. It's all just government body being paid millions of pounds a year in wages to do nothing.
Yeah. No, we can all. No, we all. I mean, just citing examples all the time. I mean, I made the mistake of going into Bath a week ago to visit some friends with this Christmas market. We do this every year, and I got on this train at Bradford-on-Avon, and there was one carriage, and it was packed, obviously. One railway carriage at peak time, and there was a member of the GWR on the train, and she said, well, this is crazy, you know, what's going on? She was obviously trying to hide away because it was embarrassing for her. She said, well, all the other carriages are out of action because they're being repaired or cleaned. and you just talk about, just back to the point I made earlier, people who are running the rail service are not interested in customers, and they're not interested in their own money. If you look at their wages, and you look at the wages of some of these people who are running universities now and all the rest of it, it's just really embarrassing, considering you've got students really struggling, and these people are earning huge sums of money. And Alan, probably not in Scotland, there's a big case at the moment with the police up there where they've been paying themselves like 106 top policemen, 170, 200,000 pounds plus, writing off removal expenses of 60,000 and all sorts of real dodgy deals, which I think is being investigated. But it's basically back to what the problem that we're saying, Karen, with society at the moment is the rich are really greedy and looking after themselves, and they're not interested in anyone else really.
No, and they want to keep the lie going. I mean, you read now that you're not eating a beef burger, you're eating a human burger, and it's like, oh, it's just like everything is just Father Christmas is satanic.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that. It's another thing. No,
it's like, yeah. What? It's like the whole of our life is a lie. I did think the wake up would be a bit quicker, though. I know that for me, I've said this before, in 2016 into 2017, a lot of people woke up. I'm not saying that people aren't waking up every day or people coming out and saying that they're flat earthers or talking about it. But it just seems to have slowed down a bit, because it's even, you know, Freddie Flintoff has come out with it. I mean, that was a pretty good endorsement for flat earth and stuff like that, and the truth. And flat earth to me doesn't just cover the piece of land we're living on. It covers the history. It covers the lies. It covers everything now. It covers 9/11. It covers all of it. It's just, we're just completely mind controlled, and some of us woke up though.
Yeah, I think that the difference you talk about your parents' generation and today. I think that society is less fair. There was some kind of element of fair play and fairness maybe a few generations ago, but that seems to be disappearing quite rapidly. This having a fair society, being fair to other people, and I think again, I keep saying, you're talking about the general population. We've all got that. We could all look after each other. We're all quite fair, and also, but it's just that element that's basically, you know, running the show that is really awful, really awful.
It is. It's disgusting. I know that treason might not be quite the right word, but it's treason. To do this to the people, to lie so badly and cover everything up. Very, very quickly in the chat room, P900, Cool Pix is her name. She says, you really have to have John Cowie back because he's a really interesting man. and a flat earther.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I think after you've had me on tonight, I think you might.
No,
might
we want you to come back.
Well, hopefully, I encourage other people to join your debate, because it's been very, very interesting indeed. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll go for a little bit longer, but obviously it's coming up for midnight, so I know that basically you probably might want to go to sleep. But sometimes it's really great to know that there are other people you can talk to.
Yeah.
Well, as I said before, I've had I was in a bit of preparation yesterday, but for a live streaming thing about conflict at Stonehenge, and that was again with some friends of mine, and so it's been quite a hectic weekend in terms of just getting messages across and just discussing things. But you're doing a great thing. You're doing a great thing. The more put these things out there, and the more people start to stop and think, well, hold on a minute, let's just think about this. And okay, they might decide, well, no, okay, it's a load of rubbish, or I don't need. I'm quite happy with watching television. I'm quite happy with going to the doctor and saying I need antibiotic when I don't, and the doctor just giving it to you and stuff like that. I mean, the key thing I like the message to get across is because of what I've been talking about, our ancient civilization and so on. We've got to be more proactive. We've got to be more proactive with our own lives and think about things a lot more carefully. And I don't mean that in any academic way or anything. I just mean just get a chance to think a bit more, and just and it is your mind. You can be told now that all this political correctness that goes on nowadays, and I think there are things that I like to say but I can't say, but they can't stop you thinking it.
No.
And at some point, once a lot of this nonsense disappears, then we'll get back to just using our own common sense, our own judgment. Of course, you don't want to insult somebody, because of the colour of their skin or something, but you can't. If somebody robs you who happens to be a different colour to you, and you call them something, well, I think you're quite entitled to say that, but of course you can't. so you get into a whole minefield area. But I just think that
you know what they've done, though, don't you? They've turned the people against each other one way or another. Right now, it's the Muslims, isn't it? But before it was black people, or maybe to other countries it was the white people, it was us, whatever. They've just turned the people, and it's not actually the people who are fighting. It's not our fault.
No. I mean, people are very tolerant. This is the thing I find this, especially, that you go into the fact the less people have, the more they give. You find probably people that give more donations from a poorer background than you get from the rich. And I find the rich, to be particularly good, even at levels of where you're giving somebody a farewell present. You'll find that the management give next to nothing, and a little secretary is giving, proportionately a lot more of a salary than the rich guy. But that's just somehow, I don't know how that's working, but it seems to be a way of society, the way our society is, and how we change it.
If you've got to go this bad to lie to the people and pretend that we're on some globe travelling 260,000 miles in 3 different directions going at Mach 80, and we believed it, I'm wrong here.
Well, I think it's great that somebody also imagine that we all were learned at school that the Earth was flat, and then explain to somebody a globe model. They will laugh. They will laugh hysterically, because the flat Earth model makes a lot more sense than the globe model. Because if you look at all the things they say, and just look basically at all the calculations and everything and what you can see, the globe model doesn't make sense. But they indoctrinate us with the globe model. But if you actually look for yourself, if you look outside and you look at the horizon, it's flat. If you go on a high mountain, it's flat. If you go in an airplane, it's flat. The only pictures that show us that the ball is a globe is NASA, and they are sponsored by the government. We know that we can't trust. So,
I've made about.
That's a very short version of it, of course. But
NASA. I've got paused astronauts, 2 astronauts together. One of them's paused, which means they won't film together. They're not together. It's not in real time. It's fake. It's CGI.
Oh.
Hey, I know that we're a bit late, but I've actually got FPV here. And what it is FPV, FPV John, FPV Rob. He hasn't managed to get on Google Hangout, so this is on the telephone. So what it is that John's really into pyramids, and FPV's found this work. So could you just explain a little bit to him, FPV?
Yeah, sure. What kind of pyramids are we talking about? Natural mound-shaped structures or the brick type?
the actual brick-built ones, yeah. Not the natural ones, no.
Yeah, well, the brick... I find this technology below them, and possibly the natural-looking ones, and it's got a rotating toroidal field flowing upwards towards a halo in the sky. It might sound a bit wild, but you know, I've got video proof of this. It's a technology-based world.
Thank you.
Yeah, you need to watch the video. I've made a 30-minute introduction video to the research I've been doing. Yeah, it explains more in the video what I'm talking about. Because basically coming from the Nazca lines, which I now find the blueprints, and I overlay them with a certain map, and they start making sense. And you know, they align with ancient sites and all kinds of things. So there's a lot going on in the background. Even Artie's involved in it now. He's going to be putting some of these ancient sites on this grid, and you'll see how they align around the world chakras. I'd say there's probably too much to explain just in a conversation, but if you watch the video, by all means come back.
I just think that once you see FPV's work, it'll explain in a sense more about how the pyramids work.
Is some of this involving the Bosnian pyramid, the Bosnian natural pyramids?
I haven't looked at that one particularly, but I will at one point. You know, I'm now looking at volcanoes because I know that this technology creates volcanoes. It's also responsible for lightning, wind, and a few other interesting things.
Okay, right. Wow.
It's below ground, and there's halos above us, and they're interacting with this world. So it just comes from, you know, it sounds far out there, but if you watch the video and follow it through, you'll see how I got these conclusions.
Just very quickly about the helix.
Yeah, the mimic map. There's a mimic map online. It's for water precipitation. It clearly shows last winter's equinox. Well, the double helix forming going across the world from one side to the other. And I've been looking at it for a while, and I've been realizing it's switching. There's switching going on. And somewhere off the west coast of Australia sends masses of signals down to Antarctica, and then you see these this double helix snake around the world, and it tells me there's switching going on. It's coming online and someone's going offline, and the sun and moon get rerouted.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've read about this before, but I'll need to find out. I look forward to getting your information. Yeah. Really,
and Antarctica, the sun and the moon are taking off from there.
Yeah, South Antarctica, it has got a sunrise and moonrise, and the German Antarctic station then head off towards Argentina. You know, we've actually got we've got that on camera. You can actually see.
I know that you can't see this, and we're just talking, but it goes on its tracks, and then like basically each one of us can only see the sun for a certain distance one way and a certain distance the other. It goes up and over your head. It spends all day doing it, and yet everybody sees the same thing. It comes out of the ground and it goes into the ground. Even the high altitude balloons, they never film the sun coming as dawn coming across the sky. It's always coming out of the earth with the light. There's the light, and then there's sort of like an explosion happening when the sun comes out. Always coming at like down on the earth. It's below the balloon, and it's just like we live in this most amazing place. But what it is it's a bit like we're living on a grid with FPV's work. And then what it is the good thing is, as you understand, you're doing pyramids, or that's what's got you. FPV and Alan and artists are really into pyramids because it all links into their work. Do you see what I mean? And their work links into each other's. And this is the amazing part of being in this group.
Well, this is it. You see, we can't all be experts on everything. We've got our little areas that we specialise in, because you can only research so much and try to be credible in some part of it. There's other areas that I wish I knew more about, but thankfully I know people who do know a lot about it, and obviously I'm interested to hear. This double helix situation.
Just to explain that,
FPV's take on pyramids as well.
FPV's work is that this isn't happening because we're in galaxies and stars up there. It's actually happening from the Earth.
Yeah, we live. We've got a hollow Earth, basically. What the Nazca lines are telling me, there's a shaped structure below us of immense size. I now think there's a monument to it, and probably detail how it works, because your king and queen chambers, well, your king and queen, you know, that's your positive, negative. We're talking electrical connections here, in my opinion. The grid itself is the actual track of the sun and moon. They follow this grid around. It's the grid's actually the ley lines, and the halos above help navigate, steers them on and off these tracks. That's basically what's going on.
Can I just explain that? I know that you're saying that big piece of information to John, but I don't know if you were in the chat room when John was explaining what NOAA was. Explain to FPV what NOAA was all about.
Oh gosh, well, I don't know. It's getting a bit late now, but
quickly.
Well, I think we're talking here about an ET-led civilization about 12,000, 13,000 years ago that was destroyed by a meteorite strike. And there's lots of books written about the Great Flood, and we'll hear about Noah in the Bible, and there's different religions talk about the Great Flood. And basically what happened was that the idea that Noah had an ark and he led the animals in 2 by 2 seems to be a misinterpretation of the Sumerian language, and it turns out that they think that the ark wasn't an ark, a wooden boat, it was actually a pyramid, that kind of structure shape, and it basically stored a lot of information. A lot of information was stored of their knowledge in this particular pyramid. I believe it to be the Great Pyramid. But then, following the destruction of the meteorite strike, is what we seem to think it was, and a huge tsunami that flooded over Egypt and into Mediterranean into Egypt. Noah, who was one of the original, maybe one of the early ET offspring, or maybe it was actually ET, or he was maybe one of the early ET Homo sapien offspring, basically decided it needed because of this calamity or this disaster, they needed to be organized, so that they kind of collected a lot of this information, which they kept, basically starting to produce a group called elites that basically been running our lives from about 10,000 years ago. And
I would agree with that, John. You know, I can see, looking back in history now, destroyed. It seems when they get caught out, they destroy and move on and start again. The interesting thing there now, one of the Nazca blueprints I'm using, Star of Peru, and it is a pyramid-shaped structure. But when you look at the information on it, cubing a Merkaba. When you follow it through the instructions with it, it's cubing the Merkaba. So it tells me we're already inside the ark. It is the ark.
It's interesting. It's intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah. Still a lot of work to do.
Absolutely. Exactly. And I was saying to Garner, you've got to keep open-minded and keep just listening and keep trying to put. As I say, when I give any talks or anything, when I finish, I basically say this is my piece of the jigsaw, and we just will go to add our own bits of the jigsaw as we move through. Because I think we will kind of understand. Because I think we've all inherited this amazing. Sorry.
Could I just explain that we're all used to being on Hangouts really late, and even like I did a 10-hour Hangout with Bro Sanchez and Santos Bonacci 2 weekends in a row, last weekend and the weekend before. Suddenly get into these talks. That doesn't mean that you're going to be expected to be on a 10-hour Hangout, but we're just used to being around, and if that moment comes, we start talking. But I think that you're feeling a little bit tired, aren't you, now?
Well, I've got a few things on this week, quite a few things. I've got a busy week ahead, so yeah, so I'm beginning to think, yeah, I need to get myself, because I've got up about 6, sorry.
I'm sorry it was a bit awkward getting on, but at least we got to talk to you.
No, that was it. Well, we lost that half an hour, vital sort of half an hour, which is, as I said, if I looked at the emails earlier, because I was doing something else, but if I looked earlier, I might have solved the problem, which unfortunately we didn't, but it's just fine. I'm glad to be able to talk to you, albeit by telephone, and not maybe bamboozle you with different diagrams and things,
I think it's more like welcome to the family, because there's a lot of what, you know, the chat room really liked you. Well,
thank you.
Rob's just said, I agree with you. You know, like there's just always going to be this overlapping stuff, and it's very interesting having someone else talk about these things, because we need to get bigger and stronger, and as a group of people, because we, in a sense, these people here are the researchers. You're the researchers. In the end, you will have changed history.
Well, you just like you think you're busy. You just said before, you're just contributing. You're adding your little bit, and if somebody comes thinks that, oh, that's interesting, and then explores that, but within, like you were just saying, with Stevie there, and Alan and so on, they've all got their areas that they might reflect on what I've said, and I'm reflecting on what they've said.
Yeah,
so
you always learn, don't you? Something. It's really...
Exactly. You must never. You must never think, oh, what I'm saying is right. I'm always hoping to be. Actually, with my theory, I'm always hoping that somebody will say something to me which makes me think, what a load of nonsense. But in the years, I mean, actually, this is all in a book I've written called Silbury Dawning, and I'm always waiting for somebody to come back with something to say, this is total. Your book is total rubbish because, but that hasn't happened yet. And I'm hoping somebody would tell me that, or give me a good reason. But I have nobody can contradict basically this idea that explains why we're all so clever, again, compared to our nearest relative, and why we will go into space, because we came from space. We came from, and we've already looking ahead, and we've already got what we've seen as being science fiction in the past. Will become science fact.
We're sort of proving that the stars are only miles up. There is no outer space. Once you get to 60 miles up, you can't get any further because there's this firmament there.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at a few high altitude balloons at night, and the camera's about 17 miles up, and you can see stars below the camera.
Not to mention there's plenty of rotating electromagnetic halos up there. Through either.
Yeah, sorry, and the flower of life. Rotating magnetic fields, and of course we've got the flower of life as well, and all the tree of life.
You're into a whole lot of other areas there. Yeah, that's all this. Well, again, I did a lot of work in Egypt and all this, but again, that's another day.
I have to say that first of all, I was a bit worried that you wouldn't come on. And then I was like, I came on the Hangout and I said, let's just not mention the flat earth side of things just for now. I'd really like to hear, because obviously you talking is just a great person, because you've done presentations, but you're another person that understands, not saying you understand everything, we don't understand everything, but you have understood that there's something very wrong and that things aren't what we're told. So it is amazing to have you on and to hear your thoughts. And Sandra, she says, Karen, ask if he'll come back and bring Maria Whitley with him.
Well, Maria's a busy lady, but I can certainly, if I was with her yesterday afternoon on this live stream, funnily enough, she's done a lot of research. She's found a lot of stuff around Stonehenge. Just to finally say this, and of course we're planning to do this road extension around the 303 around Stonehenge, and of course potentially destroying lots of things that are probably still there. Because she's found over the last few years, she's actually new mounds and all sorts of things that she's found. Even on Salisbury Plain, she's found lots of things because the MOD are very, you can imagine, very sticky,
cagey.
allowing you to get in there. So she's got in there, and she's done a lot of rummaging around, and she's got a very. In fact, if you look at that, she's more interesting than me. If you look at that conflict at Stonehenge, just put that in Google, conflict at Stonehenge, you'll see her, and she's got a lot of slides about it. So to answer P900's question, you probably find out a little bit more about Maria Wheatley by maybe going on to that particular, because she's showing some slides, I think.
Well, maybe we can somehow ask her if she will come on as well. But just learning all this stuff out, like, it's been an incredible journey this last year. I mean, the first year in Flat Earth was having a Facebook group and waking up and adding people and watching video after video. But this last year has been on this panel talking about it, and it's been absolutely amazing. Had some really deep moments on some of these hangouts when you realise things even more isn't what you thought it was. What more? No, it's never ending, and everything leads on to the next thing. It's all interconnected.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, initially, my concluding thing really is that we're actually all beginning to explore and think. We're beginning to waken up, really, and I think that's important. That we're wakening up. And as I say, I call this, we've had creationism and we have Darwinism, and I think we're into a phase called realizationism. We're beginning to realize what's happening and explore, and I think we'll probably, we're trying. I think there's a lot of information that is hidden from us, physical information that can explain things to us, but the day will come, I hope, when we will get access to this, or some of us will, and it'll be great. It's exciting. I think let's not be too pessimistic about it. I think there's some really exciting things ahead, especially for groups like yours. I mean, you've got a lot of people there with really lots of interesting things to continue to explore and to explain to others. So yeah, brilliant. Well done. Always
sort of showing that it's not what you think it is.
Yeah. Well, just keep feet on the ground and just keep the discussions going. Brilliant.
Forwards. Even if Maria doesn't come on, would you come back on another panel? Maybe we have to wait till after Christmas now, but would you come back again on Sun and Moon?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do so. As I say, I hope to get things maybe sorted out with the plugins and God knows what, so I can maybe get a. But this is fine. I've enjoyed the telephone conversation. Just get a chance to maybe look more closely at your the rest of the panel. I mean,
what I'll do is I will send you FPV's a link to FPV's work so you can see it. And I think once you see that, you're going to go, the pyramids.
Yeah. But the thing, the other speaker, I've forgotten his name. Obviously, the German gentleman was very interesting. Yeah, and Alan obviously, and different. So yeah, but yeah, certainly I'll there's lots to chew over for us all to look at and chew over, and well, yeah, I'll definitely be interested in.
Oh, I will keep emailing you.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll leave you to. As I said, I know you've got a group that you want to chat further. So with your group, so I bid you.
Good evening or good morning. But tonight was about having you on. That's what the title says.
Yeah.
You were our special. You were our special guest tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Well,
thank you, John.
I'll hopefully catch up with you soon.
Thank you, John. I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll communicate more, and we'll see you again. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now.
Bye.
Hey, John. Bye.
Bye. Oh, great.
He's a flat earther. I was a bit worried about saying that, so I didn't mention it. I just thought, please just get him on. We'll get him on to talk about Silbury Hill, because I just thought it was the best thing.
Yeah, of course.
You know, history, everything. And then doing it online, but he understands about flat earth and what it all means. It's amazing.
Yeah. He's open about everything, so that's great.
I think most people like that will realise, you know, there's a bit more to it than it just being a lump.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, for sure.
It doesn't take a lot of working out. There's a bit more going on than it just being a mound on the ground.
Yeah. You know, like I've realised in the last few days, I always thought that maybe Silbury Hill had something to do with Avebury, but it is part of a complex, and it goes 10 miles away to Marlborough. And what John was saying was that he's quite sure that there's been other pyramids around, and most of them have been destroyed, but there still are some there. And you think, wow.
Just about pyramids.
The thing with them things, Karen, is that you know, you've got these pyramids and such all over the place, but we know there's halos all over the place.
Yeah.
It must be something to do with harnessing that energy in some way. That's what I think.
They are even now at Pumapunku. You probably know that site already now because we showed it a lot. They're also excavating a pyramid. So there's also they're not done yet, but there's a step pyramid near the site of Pumapunku. So another one.
Well, as I explained to John as well, all your work kind of overlaps one way or another.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and he's a smart guy, and he's he's an you know, he you can hear on how the way he talks and what is the information he gives that he has done a lot of research. Yeah, it shows very clear.
The only thing I'm not sure about is the outer space bit, but who knows? We can't prove anything, so maybe they dropped us in here. Plop, plop, plop. We just can't get out.
Who knows? At this point.
Maybe you can get in, you just can't get out.
Well, yeah. If there's something holding us in, there's always something outside something. There's always something about on the other side of the glass. Yeah? Alleen, who knows what it is? That's the trick question.
Yeah, FPV, what are you going to say?
I don't know. It's getting a bit crowded, noisy in my room anyway, so I'll just sit quiet.
Oh, well, you've got to plug your work a bit more, and I'm going to send him a link. Alan, tell us what's been happening to you then with your research and stuff.
Just the normal day-to-day research. The bike's not working at the moment. I'm still waiting for the part for that to get back off grid again. I was waiting on a transformer come from China. They sent me a SCAT socket. How they could have got that, I don't know. But,
so what, are you running on normal electricity or not then? Because you haven't got your light on.
Well, I'm running part off grid. The machine that's online just now is on test. See it on my screen just now?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I thought that was your Christmas tree, but it's not.
No, that's not. That's a free energy device.
That would be very minimalistic Christmas tree.
Yeah, well, that's right. 3 lights. Do you notice the shape the lights are in? Do you see the shape? Do you notice the shape they're in?
Yeah.
Pyramid.
Pyramid, yeah. Yeah. Triangulating the circle.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
many RPMs is that going?
I've absolutely no idea at the moment.
I'm just wondering.
It's not fast. It's only a few hundred.
No, it just looks like a record player. The of an old 78 rounds record player.
Yeah, it should be going 3,600 revolutions per minute for 50 hertz. So, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
And what about this bit with the washing machine then? You still doing that?
Yes, it's the actual motor is in the washing machine drum. That's only because the bearing's actually built into it to hold the motor at the moment, but motor apart and drive, that'll be the prime mover. What produces the movement to begin with.
And you want to make it a bit smaller, don't you, in the end?
Yes, well, it can be, the size will be the size of the disc. Basically, it wouldn't be the size of the actual full drum in the washing machine. I can get it quite compact.
I still got this feeling, wouldn't it have actually been easier if they'd actually drilled into the ground and got the free energy from there?
Well, yes,
Yeah.
that is a way, but it's not quite the same as in Tesla's day. Because of all the mining that China's done, the actual structure of the ground is different. The conductivity is different. Because China's mined so much copper and all sorts of other minerals.
They are mining all over the world. That's what I see with all those electrical arkings.
That's right.
Often on those sites,
So that
what they are doing is excavating
Uh-huh.
minerals or iron from it. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Exactly. So the structure of the Earth is now different. So it's not as easy to use the ground for free energy.
Right. But if they'd started to, by now it would have been so much easier. I mean, if you start from now, it's difficult, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're trying to make it as difficult as possible, of course.
But I know people in Newbury, there's an Elsley complex, and that's run from the ground, not on the grid. It just would have
That's
been
right.
better for all of us. It wouldn't have mattered. Just say there'd been a war, or you could have it both ways. Maybe you have. Well, actually, we don't want that. We just want it coming from the ground, don't we? Then we wouldn't have to rely on anybody, and all we're doing is relying, isn't it?
That's right. Well, under the ground is a constant temperature. That's the way the system works. You get boilers that work on that system. They take the heat from the earth. So many feet under the ground, it stays at a constant temperature. It's quite warm, so they use that technology to heat buildings, and it's quite easy. I think the technology is still quite expensive.
It will be because they've taken us so far away from it.
That's right. They want to sell oil, don't they? Use oil to the power stations and coal and nuclear and all sorts of other things. So,
and the lies and the indoctrination and the dumbing down and the drugs and the food and the pretend wars, and it's horrible, isn't it?
That's right. And they've conned us into wind farms, saying that they're green. Well, yes, they are. They are green. They're very inefficient, and I don't know what it's like in England, but certainly in Scotland, if the windmills have to stop for any reason, the Scottish government has to pay quite a bit of money. They've signed a contract for that. If the production is down or the usage goes down and the windmills have to stop, Scottish Power and all the other companies actually get money from the Scottish government, and it's quite a bit of money. That's the contract they signed when they were building the wind farms. So it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. When you look into things, you realise how crazy everything is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We've been going not quite as long today. We've been going for 2 3/4 hours, and the time now is 12:30. Do you think it is about time though? Unless Artist wants to talk a little bit about what he's showing, that we
Oh, that's very short. That's only not even a minute.
Yes.
Go on
15
then.
minutes battery left, so
Yeah, well, this is
just in case I go
I
off
just
again.
want to make people aware. If you have these two flags, this is basically the peacetime flag, and this is the U.S. military flag when America is at war. The true American peacetime flag, this flag only flew in America during the 3 years America was not at war with anybody. Give or take, maybe a couple of months, but roughly 3 years. And this is U.S. military flag. U.S. military flag. If you fly this flag in front of your home, you are signifying your home is a military installation. You are allowing occupation. So be aware of that. Most people don't know this. Now you know.
Right.
Okay, that was it.
Oh,
just to make people aware of something. Yeah, because they don't tell you what certain things mean.
That's right. Everything's got
they count on it that you don't do your research. That's why I like this group.
The other flag looks so wrong, doesn't it? And that should be the peacetime flag.
Yeah.
It's not one that sits in your brain, is it?
Yeah. And they have other flags also with a golden fringe on it. And basically, if you enter a building with a flag or with a golden fringe on it, you're falling under that law of that flag. Just like you go to an embassy. You fall under the law of that embassy of that country. Basically, it's the same with the American flag with the golden fringe on it. Then you fall under the law of that flag. And people don't know it if they enter a building. That's why I want to make people aware of it, that do your research about certain things, just flags or other things, and research altogether. That's why I like this group, because people do research and learn new things every day that you think, oh, I never thought of it, or something, oh, I knew that, but I've forgotten it somehow, and now somebody says it again, and I remember that I was looking at it, but they put it aside, and now it's back on track again. And that's why I like the Sun and Moon group, because we have all kinds of people doing all kinds of interesting research. So.
It's brilliant that you all do it as well. I love it.
Me too.
You know, all these people, I'm just so proud of everyone.
Yeah, me too. I'm amazed how the information I find on this group and the people bring here. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, FPV's quite happy he's unloaded his burden right now, aren't you, FPV?
Yeah, not really a burden, but yeah, glad it's out there. You know, it needs discussed and research more, and I can't do it all myself.
No, not one person can do this. We can only do this together.
Yep.
And I'm proud to know Alan as well.
Yeah.
Hey,
I've met Alan.
He's
a nice man, Alan is.
He's sitting there in the dark. I didn't see you.
Yeah, it's because he's got one of his free energy device things going. He's showing us in the background. That's what's going. Ding, ding.
Yep, in the shape of a pyramid. At the bottom is a toroidal field. And it's a toroidal field that goes to the focal point of the pyramid. It triangulates the circle.
That sounds spot on. That I think that's what they were doing with the pyramids and such.
Yeah, that's exactly how it all works. Yeah,
makes sense to me, because you know the halos seem to pop up above these pyramids all over the place. Yeah,
but it also works the opposite way. It works from the focal point, which is the what would you call that? The capstone down the way. So it works both ways. It takes energy in and it puts energy out.
Yeah, it must focus it. That's what I was thinking. It's focusing it somewhere at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
From below and above, it seems.
Yes. Yeah.
I know those halos have got like a magnetic pull on landmass, so yeah.
Yeah.
Some magic going on there somewhere.
There certainly is. Minutes left in my battery.
Well, we're kind of we're kind of gonna at the end here, we did say that, didn't we? That we were winding down really, and I'd rather say goodbye to Alan because you usually just lose him.
I know. Well, I'm on a laptop now. It was on a tablet earlier, so I managed to get the laptop on the Hangout, which was a first.
Yay!
The browser was the Firefox wouldn't take the Hangout for some reason, so I installed Google Chrome. So
yeah, that indeed. With Google Chrome, you can do Hangouts much easier. Yeah.
yes, it's
Works
really
better.
good. So I shouldn't have a problem in the
I changed it
future now.
also around. Before Google Chrome, I also had some hiccups, and my mic wasn't working sometimes, or I got a lot of static. And when I changed to Google Chrome, it
Everything's
got a lot
sorted
better.
itself.
Yeah.
Good. See, I don't use Windows.
I was just going to say thank you so much for being on Weedy the Doc. And did you enjoy the Hangout?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I would like to speak to John again. And everyone else.
Yeah, he seems a nice man, doesn't he? Oh, and he's not a globe head. Sorry. FPV, thanks for jumping on at really short notice and explaining a little bit. I've already emailed it to him. And Artist.
Yeah, there it is.
Yes.
Artist,
I realised he was on the phone to you, so I thought it's going to be really hard work trying to explain that over someone on the phone. So.
Yeah, but you could explain a little bit to him. But I've sent him.
And watch the video. When he watches the video, I think he'll be back.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Anyway, it just talks about your work again, FPV. And I said angel artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Master. Yeah, you are like yeah, what do you call it? You need a monocle, and I imagine you like that, artist. Yeah, detective.
Inspector, artist.
Yeah, in his work. Anyway, thank you everybody, and for John Cowie as well. We lost Patricia somewhere along the line, but she sometimes gets some internet problems. We're back tomorrow, I think, with Stove. He was on the other day. He runs a bit more like Santos Bonacci, that way more inclined. We've got him tomorrow. So we did get John on somehow.
Yep.
Hopefully next time he'll be on the panel. But thanks everybody for bearing with us because we were a little bit late starting and for listening. And is it because I is flat? Sorry, he says he's a local man and he's come on quite late. So yeah, just have to watch the Hangout again. FPV's telling me to do something. I've done it, FPV.
Yeah. I don't know if it's count or not.
Yeah. And
sorry about that. I'm sorry, I gave you a wrench. I'm sorry, I was just busy in the Hangout. Vinny has a wrench.
Yeah, John Cowie also said some things that I can research again. Also, that woman he talked about it that also did measurement with the compass on those hills, pyramids. So that's something I can research again. So he gave me a lot of stuff to research. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's great. Great evening. I'm really glad that he came on. I really like John Cowie, and like you say, watch out for FPV's work. Yep. He'll be back.
He's a very open-minded man. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, imagine knowing it for 20 years then. I mean, I know that some people have known it since birth and know that we were on some flat plane and never felt any different, but a lot of us have kind of woken up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, imagine knowing for 20 years.
The hard part for most was they knew it, but how did they prove it? And who did they even tell? You know, the ridicule and all that.
Yeah, where do we go? I mean, I've thought about petitions. Like, we do a petition for NASA, for the flat Earth, and this, and you have to do them all at once, and then like get it finished, and then you send every single one out at the same time. So you just get bombarded. But I mean, imagine the effort, because you have to have so many thousands of millions of people signing it, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you don't just need one, you need every avenue you can pick.
Yeah.
Like fake wars, just everything.
Well, it was a great hangout again, Karen. I love
Yeah, we better go before Weedy drops out. But yeah, it was a great hangout. No, thank you. And we're back tomorrow. So we're saying good night, everybody, and thank you for being here. So good night, everybody. Big flat Earth hugs to everybody.
Big hugs to everybody.
Everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.